Good evening, guys. Free in the house. Feel free to put a comment in the chat so I know who you guys are. And I have a cup of tea. Actually, my second one. How are you doing, guys? I hope your day and week has been great. Mine has been pretty cool. I can't complain about that one. Hey, PB, good to see you, brother. Okay, PB, no problem. You have a minute. Five in the house. That's awesome. Feel free to put a comment in the chat so I know who you are, guys. Hey, Uncle Al, good to see you. How are you doing, Uncle Al? I hope everything is okay with you. Hey, Guardian Fitness, good to see you. Hey, Liselot, good to see you too. And good evening. Well, I had to move this stream from Saturday to today instead. Hey, PV, good to see you.
Hello, Shadow. You all right?
Yeah, I can hear loud and clear.
Good. So how are we all doing? Okay?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Yeah, I know it. I was actually a little bit surprised that we had invitation for dinner and the whole family will come. So that will be a lot of people tomorrow. So
right.
That's why I had to move this stream today instead.
Right.
Hey, Venerable, well, good to see you, brother. How are you doing?
Who have we got here then? Uncle Al. We've got Guardian Fitness.
Yeah.
Listelet Jepson, Venerable Owl, Prepare for the Ages.
Yeah, Prepare for the Ages. Good to see you. Uncle Al says, still alive, still weak, down to 156.
156? Is that your heart rate, Uncle Al?
Blood pressure.
Blood pressure. The Wicker
Project.
The
Wickershire Project Off Grid. Good to see you, brother.
Wickershire Project Off Grid. Hello.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you too, brother.
Are we going to see CR as well at some point? Or
at some point, yeah, probably.
Right. No
I sent a link on his Instagram, so I hope he will see it. He usually does.
Yeah. Good. All the more merrier.
We have Shannon Barrett in the house. Good to see you. He says heat has hit Tennessee. What's your temperature over there in Tennessee, brother?
So someone's getting some heat then. We're still in the single figures. Lots of wind. Never stop raining. Cloudy skies. But it's always sunny somewhere, as they say.
Yeah. Today's topic, simple topic, basically. Simple word, one word, documentation.
Yeah.
And it's actually your suggestion, so I decided to pick this for today's stream.
Yeah, I mean, it might.
And we have CR.
Who's that?
CR.
CR's only in the house. He's on a group wave.
Yep.
Wonder if anyone can do a Mexican wave on the comments. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, documentation. It might appear like a simple thing on the surface, but it's it's as well as every other aspect of preparedness. It's one of those key aspects that if you leave out, but especially in the localized events, it can have massive consequences and huge losses, which would potentially affect you for the rest of your life. Complete loss of assets and so on and so on. So, yeah, definitely a key thing that people should know about. And majority of people do know about it anyway, but it's a reinforcement of information, really. I'd suggest, and us two and the people in the comments combined could give each other tips and tricks and come up with some sort of unique things that we can do. I did a video what I use. I did it a couple of years ago, which I posted on my channel as my video of the week, if you like. So, it's ideas that people need, I think, because a lot of us are busy, and it's all to save yourself thinking and trawling through things, and to avoid sort of self-analysis and situational analysis of your own situation and stuff like that. It's always good to get ideas from other people and band things around, because that's how that's how we develop, so to speak. So yeah, so okay, documentation then. I mean,
and it's a pretty wide area when you mention the word documentation. It's a wide area.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
hey, Venerable Owl, good to see you, brother, and
hello,
welcome
Venerable
on
Owl.
panel.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, all right.
Everything
you guys
doing
hear me?
good here?
Yeah,
I can hear loud and clear.
Good deal, good deal. I haven't used this microphone for a while, so yeah, trying to test things out, knock the dust off everything.
Yeah. We found out not all microphones are equal either. I've got various ones, some just are too low and others are too high and so on. But yeah, I mean, documentation. We've gone throughout the various episodes that you do every Saturday, Shadow. We probably touched on some of these solutions we're about to cover anyway, because no matter what you talk about when it comes to preparedness, there's always some form of overlap anyway. So regular listeners, there will be some sort of overlap in information, but it makes no odds, because not everyone listens to them all, and people forget and this sort of stuff, but should inspire some ideas anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
So I mean,
I had some ideas that come up in my mind, actually.
Yeah, throw them in as we go along, I suppose.
Yeah,
and we got a Guardians in the house.
Yep, we have Guardian in the house.
Guardian
Good
Fitness.
to see you, brother.
Hi, good evening, gents. Good to see you as well, Venerable Al. Welcome to the panel. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to be on here with everybody.
Yeah, no worries. And, just chip in with whatever, whenever. So, yeah, I think as with anything preparedness related, people got to understand what the threat is to begin with. And, we all face differing threats depending on location and so on. So, when we're talking about the threat in the heat of a moment, or even in the aftermath of a disaster, the last thing you want to do is worry about replacing important documents. So safeguarding essential documents helps people rebuild their lives quicker, if at all, afterwards. And it also enables things to carry on going smoother by providing proof of various things we'll probably talk about in a bit. So fire can spread pretty quickly, and flood can overwhelm in minutes. Two sort of main commonality of threats that people face throughout the world. And the last thing you want to do is think about hold of your documents when you should be getting to safety, because some of these events like fire, for instance, if your garage catches fire, the first thing you know about it will probably be your fire alarm will be going off, and within minutes it could spread through the whole house. You don't want to risk your life going after your documents because you've forgotten to safeguard them properly. So that's one aspect of it, and the other aspect of it is in the aftermath of any disaster. If your whole house is wiped out or damaged so much that who can these days afford to repair, the majority of a house or wherever you live? You want to be able to prove who you are, your identity. You want to be able to get hold of those insurance documents so you can start rebuilding your life, because the actual event itself is going to be traumatic enough as it is. You've spent majority of your life building up this, your own little castle or fort, and you put everything into your house, or even if you rent, it's your property. You don't want to see it go and stuff like that. So, for the sake of safeguarding these key documents, it's pretty critical, I'd suggest. And even more localized events. Most agencies, let's say you're in you've been affected by a tornado or a massive flood or fire, or your house has been completely destroyed by a tsunami, and all you've got left is the clothes you're stood up in. To get assistance after disaster from agencies like, let's use FEMA, for example, many other agencies that exist, you will have to register with them to make sure you meet their eligibility criteria that they've set. And most of the time, you've got to prove that you're a resident or you're a business owner in that particular affected area, and you've actually experienced damage or losses to the disaster, because there can be a lot of fakery during these times where people who want to claim money illegally, and they may not have been affected, can do so. So, these aid agencies require you to register, and it enables your recovery process to happen a lot quicker. And in some cases, you can qualify for grants and stuff like this, and temporary accommodation, this sort of stuff. I'm not saying people will be left in the lurch completely if you can't prove who you are or anything, but this is more or less for the sort of the aftermath after life has been conserved and damage assessments been done by these sort of aid agencies. So, yeah, the bottom line is that registration is required after any event is finished, really, online or by phone. But ultimately, you've got to provide detailed information about yourself, where you've lived, the damages or losses you've incurred, and so on. If you haven't got any proof of that, you're going to be up the creek, really, without a paddle. How do you then convince people, A, who you are, B, where you've lived, and all sorts of problems start to occur from there. I've never been in that situation personally. I'd like to hear from anyone who has, and the sorts of hurdles and problems they've come up with.
Fortunately, I personally haven't experienced a loss due to any type of natural disaster, but
Right.
Those who read my caption on my YouTube chat page, that's actually what inspired me to be in the preparedness mode. I was stuck in a flood, which everybody said was a 500-year flood. No one around here ever saw anything like that. So the documentation aspect of it, people literally lost their entire homes. I'm not talking about mobile homes, caravans. I'm talking about homes that's lumber, blocks, stone washed away. And I saw, I work for the county, and across the street at the public library, FEMA had set up shop to try to help people get assistance. The issue at hand was the folks that lost everything they had in the flood. They have no copy of their deed. They don't have the documentation for their homeowner's insurance, flood insurance. A lot of folks escaped the flood water and it was in the middle of the night. So a lot of people were, in their pajamas and whatnot. So their wallets, purses, stuff washed away. Fortunately, this is a small community. And the clerk's office, the circuit clerk, the county clerk were really helpful to people, try to get copies of their deeds for their paperwork. A lot of folks still use post office boxes, which I do that. So important things always go to my post office box. I try to keep multiple copies of important documentation, and not in the same place, obviously. So if you have multiple copies of the same document, if one place is compromised, you have the backup place to have your important documentation. But being prepared for things like that, watertight container, hidden away somewhere that you know where it is. A lot of folks have been using safe deposit boxes at their local bank. So that's some of my experiences with it.
Yeah, good to hear. Good to hear. I mean, so that's sort of the broad brush of it. I think if you get something which, well, people consider getting something which covers, the main sort of threats to destruction of a document, for instance, or device, you got to look at things like fire protection, water protection, protection from being crushed or rubble, protection from theft, because these people can leave the area in a hurry and it's left open to whoever, looters and so on. And also threats to contaminants as well, because the actual event could be, you could be next to some sort of refinery or chemical plant and this sort of stuff, or it could be a more insidious event like a chemical release on purpose and this sort of stuff. So
The thing about floodwater, and again, I hate to keep going back to that, but folks had to have shots, hepatitis vaccinations. What is it? I think hepatitis B, tetanus shots, because the floodwater got over the sewage treatment facility. And here in a rural area that we're in, most people still use septic tanks. And some of those areas where septic tanks were buried were compromised due to erosion, vast amounts of erosion. So all of that sewage is now in the backwater of the flood. Then factor in, I know a couple of gas stations were in fact flooded. So you have possible contaminants from that. It's a whole plethora of stuff that people have to be weary of. That's the importance of staying updated on all of your shots. And if you can have some protective gloves on, latex gloves, some wading boots, anything like that to keep that off of you and away from you so you don't potentially get infected with something or contaminated with something. A lot of folks forget about things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Trying to sift through and go back looking for that sort of stuff with bare hands isn't good.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of flooding and things like that, I heard about a story. It was after Hurricane Katrina. There were a dad and his son. His son was in his 40s, and his father was probably in his 70s. And they had to walk through all that water. And 3 days later, he didn't feel well. And it turned out to be worse and worse. So he went to the ER with his dad. And the ER was full of patients. And the doctors were so stressed up. And he called for help, and they didn't help him. You have to wait. And the sad thing was that his father died that day. And when they did an investigation on that, on his leg, he had a small scratch. So that was infected. So he got a serious infection, so he died from that.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, bad news, bad news. So,
Yeah, square
know,
table degenerates. Welcome,
what-
my friend.
once people understand what threats they're faced with, they can add a bit more on. There's nothing, nothing wrong with preparing over the top, if you like. But I suppose it will come down to money at the end of the day, because some of these things aren't cheap. They've got to then consider what they're going to protect them. So, people have got to look at the basic stuff first and decide how they're going to do it, and it will obviously dictate the size of the container then, or how they're going to protect it. So things like your identification, birth certificates, original ones preferably, passports, things like social security cards, national insurance numbers, because at the end of the day, we are all numbers on a computer somewhere on the governmental level. So national insurance number in Britain is a key one to protect. Driver's licenses, insurance policies on the financial side of it. So bank statements, mortgage agreements, rental agreements, insurance policies, medical insurance policies if you're in a country that requires medical insurance. Or if you're not, here in Britain, for instance, we got a National Health Service. So your National Health Service number, although that's not essential, tax returns, all these sort of things are required to back up your sort of story and credibility of who you are. Even things like your medical history, if you've got access to your own medical documents or prescriptions, immunization records. I've got my all my jabs on a card that I've kept. Then the legal side of it, wills. Everyone should have a will made out. Make a will. I mean, wills are quite easy to do actually, because you can, if you do it through a solicitor, you can get them to store it for you. But things like power of attorney documents, marriage licenses, for instance, all bolster up this sort of this avenue of credibility as to who you are, your identity, really. And this is why no one wants. You got to safeguard it really good, not only for destruction but for theft as well, because if someone gets hold of all these documents, that's they can potentially duplicate who you are, and that's you sort of lost, and they can steal your identity, if you like.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And even when it comes down to things like property deeds, proof of ownership of your house, proof of ownership of your car registration documents, a contact card with phone numbers on it, because your phone, everyone puts all their stuff on their phone. Your phone might be wiped out, that might be destroyed. Even photos of your relatives and people because thereafter, if you haven't got any sort of proof of who, say you've lost a family member, you want, obviously they might be lost. You might think they've died in a disaster, but they might even be lost. So a photo will be handy to have of them, so that you can access at some point later on. And things like keepsakes and things which are key to memories and your history. Photos of any pets, for instance, they might have run off during the disaster. A pet is like
Pam, good to see you.
A pet is like a family member. And if people want to really delve into details, you could even take your own fingerprints, put them on I don't know, ink, and then put them onto paper, or you can get your own dental records copied. Stuff to ID any family member that might have died, and you then got access to prove that it is them, if you like. So that's the sort of things I would look at keeping. But on top of all that, also, I'm sure everyone's aware when they go to, I don't know, buy a new or sign up to any new long-term agreements. Some people want previous bills and stuff like this, a history of something with your address on it as well. So that might be put in there. And, look, keep all these in the thing. I mean, all these, they don't really stack up to much when you gather all your documents together, your essential documents. So then you can decide then, how you're going to do it, how you're going to secure and safeguard all this sort of stuff to prevent, like we said, identity thefts, loss of ID, total destruction, and all this sort of thing. So for me, I would consider things like a safe, pretty obvious one, really. Have it bolted to the floor, because let's say you've got a tornado that wipes out the entire property, and your floor is a solid structure. If it's bolted to the floor, it's not going to go anywhere. Or it's going to be more robust than it would be just lying in the corner, sort of thing. And I'll suggest that these sort of safes or vault boxes, or whatever you want to call them, they should be fireproof, waterproof. And then when they're looking for this sort of stuff, they should be people should look for the fireproof ratings and the waterproof ratings. Fireproof ratings normally rated for duration, so you commonly see things like this firebox is fireproof for 1 hour, for instance, or this waterproof box is down to a certain depth. And if it hasn't got that sort of thing on it, at least look for some sort of rubber seal or gasket that would indicate to you that it is waterproof, So, and it's not only just the original documents people should be keeping these things. It's they should make copies of the vital documents as well, and they could probably, like you said there, Venerable Al, store them in multiple locations as well, because you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. It's a single point of failure. At worst case, worst case, you've lost everything. Second best case, you've lost the originals, but you may at least have photocopies of this sort of stuff. So that's just one thing I'll suggest. A safe, a good safe, robust safe, fireproof, waterproof, crush proof. If you're worried about crushing through to collapsed buildings and stuff. And whatever people put in these devices, I would suggest laminating the documents as well to make them even more robust, or at least put them in waterproof bags as well as in the safe.
Sometimes laminating doesn't work. The social security card should never be laminated. I learned that the hard way, so I had to get a replacement from the Social Security office.
Right. Okay, yep. Good.
Hey, Thor, good to see you, brother.
Hey, Thor. So, yeah, I mean, that's just a safe, for instance. Look, so have a high fireproof rating, and look for some sort of credible, what they call it, certification. And there's plenty of certified companies out there. There's a couple of key ones. Right. Intellect, UL, Underwriters Laboratories. There's many of them. There's many sort of certification companies. Anyone buys these cheap Chinese-made devices, then at your own risk, sort of thing, I'd say.
Gaylord Archival has some really good storage boxes that have varying ratings, but a lot of the libraries and museums around my area purchase things from Gaylord Archival.
Right. Is that a dedicated American company?
I'm not for sure. I can't answer that.
Right. It probably, so it's probably not available throughout the world, because we've got a quite a varied population of viewers and listeners here. Yes. So, like, people should look at their own well-established, credible certifiers, and just do their own little research. It won't take long online. People can discover who they are.
Mm-hmm. That also, I believe, applies to the method in which you're keeping your certification. So depending on the region of the world, of course, as well, different places have different threats. So certain places, for example, in the US with the tornadoes and hurricanes, that's definitely where those boxes being clamped down to the ground would be definitely like extremely beneficial. And then having other places in the world where you have chance of flooding, like being able to just make sure that that's waterproofed correctly. And then not only that, but the way that you store your certification as well and have duplicates of it and physical copies. I believe that if things were to, I know that I don't mean to get tinfoil hatty as well, but next year with the solar storms coming along, one should be mindful of what would happen if we did have a bit of a jolt or a step back in our current technology and capacity to withhold and store information, you know. So what one should obviously do then is have a capable a way to be able to present and almost like a resume. And this is something that not many people really speak about, but like a resume on paper where you have a bit of your certification behind you. And I know that that can be fabricated as well, but just proof it and ways that you can essentially provide that to people to show where you what your background is and what you're essentially capable of doing. So, for example, if you've got a great resume regarding being an electrician, you could actually take that to somebody in a bit of a disaster scenario and have that as like a trust, you know, just so that they have more validity, essentially.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, I additional to what I've said there, I keep all my qualification certificates and CV in there as well, because it's, you know, it's personal to me, it's precious to me. But yeah, it's definitely a good idea. I mean, if you turn up at someone's house and they're looking for an electrician or a key plumber or a gas fitter to advise them how to control the gas or turn it off or adjust it or whatever, or make it more safe, and you can prove that it works in the gas sort of
credibility. Yeah,
definitely, yeah, give some good points there. So then, I mean,
so one more thing, sorry, go ahead.
No, go on. I was just going to talk about something else. Go on.
Please hold the thought there, because whenever you speak, it's extremely interesting, like some of the points as well that you bring across. So please hold that thought. What I wanted to say specifically as well is just being able to have all of your documents, but not only that, but having like backed up documents. So in everything that you've got as well, a lot of people genuinely, if you think about it right now, if you think about all the files that you have, do you only have 1 or 2 copies? Making sure that you've got a backup copy for everything too. And just, you know, if things kind of get rattled for a while and we go back to normality, then just making sure that you take that certification with you. And you were speaking about, you know, fires where they impact homes and widespread fire. That type of thing can occur so quickly and can happen to anybody. And in the event of that, having like a backup is really important. I just want to also say hello to everybody in the chat. It's really good to see some amazing people here as well with us in the chat group. So hello to everybody. And you guys know who I care about. Who I care about the most. I'm kidding. Go for it, Preparedness Veteran. Say what you want to say there.
So just on about safes and other things to look for is, you know, a lot of these things come with either electronic keypads or combination locks or actual physical simplistic keys that operate the lock. So I would personally, I wouldn't pick a safe if you're living in a flood-prone risk that has an electronic keypad.
That would be too heavy to lift.
Yes, you know. So if you've got an electronic keypad, I wouldn't really advise that to go with water.
No.
Combination locks, they can seize. People can obviously forget the combinations as well. If you got one combination, So if the father of the house, the mother of the house, say that as well these days, are the only combination holders, and it's in their memory, and they die, the other family members might not be able to get in there if they don't know it all. So sometimes, you know, people have got to look at the options. So electronic keypads, combination locks, key locks, and these days, fingerprint scanning locks. But I suppose you class them as sort of electronic keypads as well. So you know, consider the options.
With in tandem with what you're saying, you can also use a cloud. Obviously, within the modern world, like it's really convenient that we've got clouds that we can use backups on. Having like backup information in clouds is really great because, no matter what happens to your current country, when you do get to a different place, you can essentially just download everything that you had uploaded on that cloud. And obviously within like certain companies are using that more and more. So
yeah. So digital copies, you can scan your own documents and save them securely somewhere. A lot of people use this cloud storage services or devices. And on the simplistic level of it, people could even scan their own documents and save them within their own email provider. And that's universal. You can access that from anywhere, most in the world anyway, or even encrypted flash drives, USB sticks. And these days, if you're putting even a micro USB drive, you can get them up to a terabyte nowadays. It's so small, size of your fingernail, and
affordable too.
Yeah, definitely. Cheapest chips. Thousands of documents can be stored in there. Thousands of images can be stored in there. Sound files, videos, your whole identity, history, and memories can be put on one of these little tiny devices, put in a couple of Ziploc bags, 3 or 4 different locations because you can copy them easy. There you go. You've got a nice little robust sort of system going on there. What you won't be able to do is, worst case scenario, be able to pull out your almost number one document, passport. So, it's a bit, you can't show someone a credible photocopy of your digital passport and expect them to take that as read. It's got key information on there, but realistically, I'll suggest that you can't beat a physical passport, even though most of them are scannable nowadays. So, encrypted hard drives as well, external hard drives. But the cheapest sort of option electronically that I would say would be to store your essential documents within your own email system. So, I use Proton Mail, or the Proton Mail servers are in an underground bunker within a massive mountain in Switzerland. So that's an option for me. And I save loads of emails there, that sort of thing. But there are other ones, people would pick and choose. But
hey, Tammy, good to see you, man.
Hey, Tammy. But if anyone's going to consider keeping anything digital or within the cloud or anything like that, I'd consider who's got authorization and access to the online storage. Like I said, if it's down to a single person in the household, they might have been killed through whatever reason. So when it comes to digital ownership, that can be quite a contested aspect of digitization. So pick and choose who you're going to have to. At the end of the day, it's only an email address and a password. So consider that. If it's within the family, fine. But then again, and we're seeing this more and more often, another pitfall of digital storage is third-party authentication. So normally nowadays, there's quite a few companies out there and providers. When you log onto a system, it will send a confirmatory code to your phone. If that's the case and you've lost your phone, then you can't. How do you bypass that? You see what I mean? So that's another thing to think about. You might even want to. Yeah, it's difficult. I can't think offhand how you'd bypass that. You would have to then start going into the realms of resetting passwords or another method of authenticating who you are. I know this happens a lot with banks. Most banks should do this now. You log into your bank account, you need a password, username, an ID, and then it will ping your phone a 4, 5, 6-digit code that you've got to re-input as a secondary sort of confirmatory number. So that's definitely something to think about when it comes to digital storage, cloud storage, and things like this. It depends who your provider is, I suppose, and how much of a stickler they are for that sort of security. And in some cases, it's an option. So
Yeah.
beware. And other options. I think Al there's mentioned it already. Safety deposit boxes.
Yes.
Consider a safety deposit box. Yeah, it's another good alternate secure location where you can store original documents in. So why not? I'm not sure how, and I suppose this varies how secure these facilities will be. I take it they are normally fireproof and waterproof. Is that right? Well, and I'm not sure. I've never used one, but I suspect there's 2 key holders as well. You and the bank. That's the classic old thing I've seen in the films. So, if you lose your key, that's another thing to think about.
Right.
How do you go to prove you are the key holder to that box? So you got to prove another form of identification to get into that box. It starts to become a bit of a nightmare, really. So, and obviously, the elephant in the room when it comes to safety deposit boxes is it costs you probably more money to do that than the other previous ones we mentioned. Probably a yearly fee or subscription fee or something like that.
There is, but it depends on what you're actually putting in it. It's
right.
fairly reasonable. Of course, every bank is going to charge a different fee for the maintenance and the rent of it. But I know a lot of people wants to keep a certain amount of cash along with other documents inside the safe deposit box, which is a good idea. Cash is always better than plastic in emergency situation.
Yeah, the only thing that comes to mind as soon as I think of a safety deposit box is they can be a grand target for theft and robberies, because it's almost on the burglar side of it, it becomes sort of like a faceless attempt to steal goods. And if you're putting, I don't know, if you're putting key essential documents into a safety deposit box that's irreplaceable, you can get compensation back for the loss of it, I suppose. But some things are irreplaceable. And yeah, like I say, they can become quite attractable targets for thieves and stuff in peacetime, let alone in it, before or after any event.
Right. Yeah. If you have an SHTF, such as what Prepper for the Ages pointed out in the SHTF, the banks will probably, in fact, be closed. So that's another thing that folks who want to utilize safe deposit boxes, they need to account for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd suggest that
good to see you, ma'am.
Wherever people put their alternate documents, it will be out of the local area. Pretty obvious, really. You don't want to store your stuff in a safety deposit box in the same tsunami zone that the bank you're in. So yeah, people sit back and think about things. And another thing people can use is a trusted contact. Leave a copy. I'd suggest leave a copy of essential documents with a trusted friend or relative outside of the area where you live, if that's the case. Something else to consider, that it might even be someone's alternate bug out location. A bug out location is not necessarily a cabin in the woods or anything like this that people sort of dream about. It can be just a friend's house, a family friend's member's house in a different country or miles away from the zone that you're in, so to speak. And then, moving on to another more of an extreme case, I suppose, would be a cache or a cache, putting your documents in there. But there's so many vulnerabilities and risks associated with that I would really not consider that. You
need a container that doesn't rust, that is waterproof, and it can handle the weight or where you decide to hide it. If you dig it down, it needs to handle the weight from the soil and everything else.
Thick plastic does the job. So like for that type of scenario, having like a nice thick plastic, specifically plastic barrels. They work really well. And then the idea essentially is making sure that you have 1 or 2 really reliable caches in positions that would normally be along the exit route of where you'd need to get out of the local city. So obviously looking at a geographical map using Google Earth or anything like that would assist with this. And then just understanding as well your plan, failing to plan is planning to fail. So essentially what you have is on the exit routes where you have your caches. So having a cache is extremely valuable. You do not want to wish that you had a cache system and not have one, right? So even if it's a cache system that can be essentially, over time, eventually people build over land, and eventually, things do change up quite a bit. But fortunately, that's why I said earlier, it's about geographical, opportunities as well. So here in South Africa, we have definitely got a large amount of untouched land. So there are lots of places to be able to do so. And just making sure that you have tooling specifically, because in everything, as we've spoken about, it's always like an never coming home bag, an inch system bag. Like that whole idea itself, the tool segments of it always get extremely heavy. So if you do plan on doing some heavy style bushcraft, having like tools that are set up in a cache system is such a godsend. And then obviously there's food that lasts forever, like honey and certain salts and stuff like that can last for a long time that you'll wish that you had setups of. And then having like filter systems, and I don't mean to go into the whole caching conversation, sorry, and I'll stop my soapbox here in a moment, but like just the idea of having that and then having water filtration systems in those cache systems. I love cache systems as well, so I'm a major advocate for them. But go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's something I've considered. I mean, I've got a cache somewhere, but I wouldn't, and I've never considered really putting any essential documents in there. Yeah, they are quite vulnerable depending on location, and whatever I put out, I'm literally prepared to lose it through environmental issues or freezing, flooding of the city. We've had that much rain here that if it's not fully waterproof and so on, it can damage it, and depending on how you build the actual cage as well. And for all we know, you go back to a location and someone, there's a wall around it, and someone's putting planning permission. The builders are moving in there to start building a house on top of it, and this sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, it may be a good idea if people put that sort of thing in their own property boundaries, to not only have something hidden away completely from people if theft is a real problem, but if they're worried about any rubble, swamp in the area, and you're unable to find it later on, you will know it's in the bottom corner of your garden, for instance. That's always an option for people. So yeah, there's various all sorts of options out there, but for documents, yeah, I don't think I would. Not in that instance. But yeah, a lot of people got their own sort of things. But what I have and what I use, what I have and what I use is a waterproof, robust map case, and it's a specific case for waterproofing documents, and I keep it in there because my major sort of threat is water. And when I seal it up, I always make sure there's a big air bubble in it, so I'll trap some air in it. So if it does get completely swamped, at least it sort of floats on the surface, if anything, and it's tethered and this sort of stuff. Brightly coloured. I haven't got what's written on it plastered on the outside, so it's not immediately attractable to look at. But I know where it is, and the rest of them know where it is. So that's what I use: a good, solid, robust waterproof map case. Other things people could use, they could even go down the route of renting a storage unit. Again, in an alternate location, rent a storage unit out. You can keep an amount of preps in there for local emergencies, and you could hide certain documents and paperwork in there as well if need be. So, yeah, but I think on top of all that sort of stuff, people got to remember, you got to make copies of everything. If you're going to do it digitally, update your digital records and copies regularly as well. You don't want out-of-date stuff clogging the system up and clouding the issue when it comes to retrieving documents. You've got duplicate copies flying around left, right, and center. You've got duplicate files, or old files in there, and you're going to have to trawl through them and spend extra unwanted time sifting through which is the most recent copy of the bill you wanted to save, and so on, or bank statement and stuff like this. So update your digital copies regularly. Don't store your originals and digital copies in the same place as well. Single point of failure, one goes, they all go. Don't put your eggs in one basket. Whatever you use, if you're using a physical box or anything like that, label it clearly for your own personal identification. You don't have to put in, right on the outside of the box or the safe, all my important documents. You could write it in code or whatever, or as long as everybody knows where all the stuff is, you're good to go. So, yeah, right. So when I was in Bosnia and Kosovo, specifically Kosovo, we went through an area staging post, and there's an old factory, and we'd taken it over because it was a convenient sort of place for our use for a couple of hours, and it had been evacuated by the Bosnian Serbs at the time. They'd just left, and in the corner of this facility was a massive pile of burning documents, and they were, I couldn't read what it says, but they were obviously passports and other photo IDs of people. So wherever they got these sort of documents from, they'd obviously wanted to erase the history of that particular group of people and so on, because if you got no documentation, who are you? You're stateless, you're a nobody, etc., etc., etc. And giving a current example is we're seeing loads of illegal immigrants swamp into our shores across the English Channel, and they're turning up with, they're getting rid of their important paperwork and documents on the way. So they're turning up on our shores claiming asylum. We, British government can't prove where they're from, who they are, or anything like that. Who do you send them back to? What country do you send them back to if they're found to be illegitimately trying to claim asylum? They're stateless people, and it becomes a real problem. So on the flip side, people want to get rid of their documents, but we want to keep our sort of documents. And it's not just a case of securing, safeguarding, storing documents for the aftermath. You also want to be aware, if you're going to take stuff with you, where you're going to keep important documents whilst you're bugging out. So I would suggest that if you are bugging out on foot or wherever, if you never know exactly certainties. There are no certainties really. You're bugging out of a location because it's become unlivable and unsurvivable, and your main goal is to get to your place of safety. It's your pre-arranged plan and your self-stocked bug out location, all this sort of stuff, ideally. But there are no certainties you're going to get there. You're then venturing into the unknown. You might have a pre-rehearsed and well thought out bug out plan and this sort of stuff with all routes and caches and water sources mapped out and all this sort of stuff, but nothing's certain. You could end up having to go to plan B, C, D, and E, and eventually go into another country for safety. And if you haven't got your sort of main travel document on you, your passport, your original passport, you're going to come across a lot of problems trying to get in there or through checkpoints and so on. So people must also consider, how they're going to carry these documents, and whether you have sort of a little over-the-shoulder pouch bag full of them ready to go, or whether they're actually in some sort of evacuation bag, it's up to the individual. But I personally have an over-the-shoulder little documents bag, and it's a Victorinox bag, and they make good travel bags, good, secure, robust travel bags. There's other makes of companies out there. They do them. Snug Pack do one. It's called the Snug Pack Grab Organizer, I think. Yeah, I'll put some links up in the comments, and people want to have a look at these sort of things they can do.
Prepper for the Ages says, question for the panel: what are the top 5 events are you protecting the documents against?
So I really love questions like that, because they're questions that are based behind somebody thought it out as well before they asked the question, and it's one of those things that definitely is the core and the crux of what we're doing here, right? What else are we doing here if not speaking about the fundamental elements of what can go wrong and why we should try and protect against that? So firstly, very well asked as well, Prepper for the Ages. And I definitely would love to answer that, but I'd love to give anybody else a chance before I do. So if you guys want to answer that, please do so. And for myself, I'll just open bracket, close bracket, say that grid down, internet loss of the internet, and then from that I'll elaborate more. But before I do, go ahead to the rest of the panel.
Me specifically, I'm more trying to protect things from severe weather damage, such as flooding, tornadoes, bad wind storms, flooding, obviously with that, but also thieves. Sometimes, I'll just say this, sometimes it's better to hide things in plain sight. So that's about as far into it that I'm willing to go.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For me, I'm pretty much flexible. My main sort of threat is from water and flooding, although I've got another major threat of fire as well, and theft. So my documents are kept in a waterproof bag, but they're always available at hand for me to grab and go. So if a fire breaks out from where I live, that's one of the first things I take with me anyway. That's almost the number one thing I would make sure I've got, because without insurance documents, I'm completely stuffed. I will just lose a lot, just about everything. So insurance documents are probably my number one thing, apart from the identity documents, that I would say I take. Everything else, most other things, certificates and that, qualification certificates, I'm prepared to lose those. Marriage certificates, driving licenses and things like that, you can reapply for those. They're good to have as a form of ID thereafter, but as long as your passport, insurance documents are in there, that's the key things. And for me, like I say, for me, it's flooding number one, fire number two, I'd say. And from whatever event that that transpires that makes flood or fire, then whatever. The rest of me documents, I've also got some Faraday boxes and tins as well, which I keep. I've got some high capacity, robust hard USB sticks that I keep all my stuff on as well, and they're duplicated. So just about every photo I've ever taken, every video that I've backed up, every document that I've ever done, every document that I've written, qualifications, everything that can be digitized, I've triplicated on these 3 USB sticks. And they're in Faraday biscuit tins, basically. It sounds funny saying biscuit tin, but I've made them in such a way in which they're quite robust and protective, because as well as the individual localized threats, which are almost unique to most people. I mean, my individual localized threats are different from your Shadow, and they're different from Guardians and so on. We all inherently come under generic threats as well, whether that be from an EMP threat or some form of theft or attack. Electronically, people have got to safeguard their items, and even if the threat is that severe that the resulting factor will be the end of modern civilization, then you still may want to keep electronic devices for reference and learning tools and stuff like this. So, for instance, you can quite easily, modern phones, a 5G phone these days, smartphone, put a 500 meg SIM card in it, and on that SIM card you could put all your documents on it, and you could put every piece of information you would like. There's so many books out there that people can download. They can keep these on their micro USB card on their phone, and then that phone will then serve as a purpose of referring to those documents. You've essentially got yourself an e-reader there. You've got yourself a calculator. You've got yourself a camera for recce's and stuff like this. You've got not a phone, but you've got a communication device if you use it in other methods, and put that in the biscuit tin as well. So even if civilization does go south and the whole of the grid goes down, or EMP and every other electronic device has been destroyed, people have still got this reference tool to go through. So I'm not saying I'm not saying it's a substitute for physical books, but it's a definite key tool which will make life easier afterwards. Yeah.
No, I was also just going to recap and say that those tins, quite often when you're going through a place that hasn't been tampered with for quite a while, if there were any of those tins will be the one thing that are still intact and still in good condition. So yeah, those tins will save you a fair amount of problems as well, being that they are so rugged and durable. Specifically, they're the thicker ones with the thicker material that they really will last for a really long time. So
when it comes to so if that is the threat people are concerned about, thickness and thickness of the if we're talking about tins, then thickness of the steel or the metal is a key factor, and the insulation inside as well. But it's not necessarily. We're sort of jump onto a different subject here, which we'll probably talk about on the next sort of broadcast with Guardian there on Sunday. Is some sort
on
of
which channel? Your channel or his?
Right. So Guardian's doing a live on Sunday
on my main channel, on my original channel. Yeah. Well, this is actually currently my main channel, but my original channel. Yeah. Go ahead, Preparedness. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. So what's that? What's your channel called for everyone, Guardian?
Yeah, so Guardian Fitness, this channel is my active channel that I actually upload on all the time. And then my other channel is Guardian Prepping. That's my original channel, the channel that I have actually been deserting for quite a while because I've been focusing so much more on the fitness side of life. And that channel specifically, my Guardian Prepping channel, is one that I've put a lot of effort into back in the day. And it's also the channel that I use to interview people and to do a lot of my streams and that type of thing. So I even interviewed Shadow and CR on salvaging. Remember the salvage stream that we did but over a year ago? That was quite nice. And it's we definitely do for another stream as well. Shadow and CR, we can do another one like that as well sometime. But this week Sunday we will be having I'll post more on the Guardian Prepping channel. I'll make sure that before the end of tomorrow that there's a link for it up as well, so that everybody can check that out. But we will be having an extensive conversation. Do you want to give us a little bit more about what we'll be talking about on Sunday as well, Preparedness Veteran?
Yeah, so we'll be talking about detailed information about coronal mass ejections and solar flares. So those two specifically, what the threats are, what the implications are, what they mean to us, how we can safeguard against them, what to do, what equipment you would need, the implications, the whole shebang basically, revolving around coronal mass ejections and CMEs, because there's a lot of people don't really understand what the differences are and all the rest of it surround. I mean, a lot of people think a CME or a solar flare is just like an EMP, and it's not. So, so if you want any more detailed information, listen on Sunday. What time on Sunday?
Yeah, I think we're going for, you said 9, correct? We go for 9?
9 o'clock, your time.
Yeah, so...
Right, so 7 o'clock GMT or 7 o'clock British time. And wherever you are in the world, work around that.
That would be 8 my time, so...
Right, so it's currently 8 o'clock my time, my time now. It will be 7 p.m. my time Sunday, 9 o'clock Guardian's time Sunday.
An hour ago on Sunday. So wherever you are in the world right now, an hour ago, whatever time that was, on Sunday on Guardian Prepping. And it's definitely going to be quite exciting. And I'm willing to take gloves off when it comes to the rest of the conversations as well. It's been a while since I've done a live stream. Don't worry, I won't be talking about too much tinfoil hat stuff, but I will be speaking about things. Am I still live? Am I frozen or am I okay? Just side chat, if you can just let us know if we're frozen or if we're all right.
Right, we're okay now.
Okay.
So so watch Guardians. We'll put the link in the description, the comments there. Watch out for updates. So I mean, so that's what I do. I keep 3 different USB sticks, all duplicated in 3 different tins, for an added sort of bonus, if you like, and collection of information. Because for what it's worth, for the size of a USB drive these days, the size of a micro USB stick in there, if you wanted, you could download the whole of Wikipedia and put it on there. And when you haven't got access to the outside world, you haven't got access to reference documents thereafter, you've got no one else to consult, it's there. And all you need is a minimum, a smartphone, and the information on the USB stick. That's it. There's such good tools if you know how to employ them and you can think outside the box. So go for it, yeah.
Also, what I will do quickly for everybody that is in the chat as well at the moment and on the side panel. So I'm going to explain something that is the most important aspect of what we're facing at the moment, and that comes to, so logically right now, every country is in a race, all right, to be the tippy top and to be at the forefront of the technological advancements such as machine learning, general AI, things like that, which are unfortunately vastly overused as terms as well. And the situation that we're facing right now, and I won't take in more than a minute of your time, and I know that this is very much a pressing matter, but it is one that I do need people to think about and understand how important this is. So specifically looking at throughout time, there's not been a single time specifically where I've said in any year that I've mentioned that we are facing a lot of things and that they are imminent right now. And I really mean that. I'm not trying to do fear porn in any way. I'm just being legitimately serious with everybody. If you think about where we're standing right now, give me one moment, please. Just 1 second. Just 1 moment. Okay. So I just want to finish up here quickly before I turn off cam. So what I'm trying to say is that every country right now is in a race to try and make sure that they're at the forefront of the technology that could potentially change life as we know it. And really, the first country that has true general AI will absolutely obliterate every other country in all formats. So whichever country is first has to make sure that the second, third, fourth country are essentially barred from progression, or else they will do the same thing to the first country. Just give that a bit of thought and understand how that is unfortunately something that we're facing right now.
Yeah, the AI
Yep, definitely.
raids, that will
Definitely.
be a lot of fighting on. Oh, will be
Don't
on the
rely
top.
too much on technologies. Like that's the one thing. And I just want people to make sure that if they are doing any final preps, just to make sure that you do double check your preps, make sure everything's aligned, make sure that you do the final, like, you know, you should be on food rotations anyway. And I don't mean to be somebody that's a doom and gloomer, but I'm just like, if I don't say it right, I'm not being true to myself, and I'm not being true to anybody listening to me. So I want you guys, I care about you guys, and I just want you to understand that right now is go time in terms of making sure that all your preps are top notch as well at the moment, making sure that you use the technology that we currently do have just to increase your skill sets where you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
mean,
agree with that.
It's as if I feel the same way. It's as if everything is coming to a pinnacle in this next year, or this year and next year. And it can almost be a perfect storm, if you like. If the stars start to align, I've definitely myself have ramped up. And there has been another year that I've taken it more seriously than this year here now. I mean, we've already had the Russian fast that's just occurred, which is the confirmatory elections. Putin managed to get rid of all his opposition, and he's now in power again. So he's continuing on his regime. I mean, some say better the devil you know, but is that the case? You know, and we've also got many elections all throughout the world occurring this year as well. And the
56 preparedness veteran.
Say again?
There's apparently about 56. It's close to that number. You can check on it as well. Let me just double check. I'd like to Google that before giving a blanket statement, but the last I heard it was 56. Give me a moment.
56 what?
Hey, Bob, 942. Good to see you, brother.
Hey, Bob.
How are you doing?
So was that 56 elections?
64, sir. I'm sorry, 64.
64 elections.
64 elections are occurring around the world this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had the election to the European Parliament this year.
When it comes to elections these days, societies are so polarized that the losing team always throws its teddy out the window and kicks off. So you get the fallout from that, the rioting, the potential looting, and people demonstrating, and escalation from there. And you also get the flip side of it, where the people who are expected to win, they also call fraud and all this sort of stuff, vote rigging elections and all that sort of stuff. And again, yeah, like Bob says there, civil unrest goes hand in hand with elections, basically, especially these days. No one can accept they're wrong. No one can accept they're on the losing team, etc., etc., etc.
Absolutely.
Everybody thinks that because the people they don't vote in for, you know, it's going to be really bad for them. It just escalates and kicks off, and it's just ridiculous. And even the key indicators are there now. I mean, I don't live in America. I don't want to really delve into their politics, but the American elections do have an impact worldwide, and they are key members, or the key world leaders in quite a lot of things. So, you know, we've all seen what happens in the previous election. And already Trump has openly come out and said that if they don't get in, there'll be a bloodbath. And I can imagine that exact case.
Do you believe? I also just want to point out that it's pretty interesting that preparedness veterans icon, the owl's icon, and my icon are all like something to do with wings, and like eagle or something, some sort of bird or some sort of, you know. Anyway, so what I wanted to point out, something that's rather interesting is that it's just So if you believe that everything is connected, that people are connected, all right? So the whole idea that energy is a consistent, and even when we pass away, like, certain beliefs and cultures, that energy is a consistent flowing force, and that all energy is united in some way, that we can almost feel other people's compassion and empathy across the world, and that at times when we do have certain, as the world goes through certain eras, that the whole of humanity is connected somehow. Now, this year specifically is a record year for elections, and if you think about the amount of angst that's going to occur across the globe, there are just so many other things as well. But I'll stop right there, and I'll just say that I could definitely go down a rabbit hole of how many things this year specifically, this year and going into early next year, like how many things tie into just there being such a buildup of things. So we'll see what happens. It's just, yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I think as preppers, we like to analyze events and see the worst in things and the potential worst outcomes in things.
We have to, yeah. We have to.
But this, like you said, this year, it's just so many things that can pile on top of each other and continue. And so many avenues it can go down, from Ukraine escalating, the worst case scenario, Ukraine escalating to the nuclear event. You got NATO being dragged into it, and then it's a massive escalation of war. You've got Taiwan being invaded, and the whole of the South China Sea getting dragged into a Middle Eastern, Far Eastern war. You've got, the Israeli situation could turn nuclear with a big flare-up in the Middle East. You've got a major terrorist threat occurring in the Paris Olympics. So, it's incredible. And, we're talking about document storage, but the end result of all of these sort of things is social unrest and escalation of violence and looting and this sort of stuff. So when it comes back down to if on the flip side, we're talking about a house being destroyed and recovering items and sitting claim back through insurance and this sort of stuff and proving your identity. But on the other side of it, we're talking about the human implications of violence and looting and robbery and this sort of stuff. So as well as protecting your documents and your locations and what type of device you store your documents in or where, people have got to consider safeguarding the location within your own house. Where you're going to put it in your house, if you're going to put it in your house, bolt it to the floor, 2 or 3 safes, dummy safes, hidden locations. We've got a whole episode on Shadow Stream here about hiding your preps in hidden locations. And we've touched on some of these document storage stuff within that. So, home invasions, burglaries. Consider the aspects of the robbery sort of side of it as well, whilst you're in your home as well. It's there's so many pitfalls and locations and variables that I doubt there will be one perfect solution. So people got to be prepared to compromise, and even consider the small vulnerabilities that you will have an encounter that may not be immediately apparent. If you've got any sort of workman coming into your house, are you going to hide the bright orange box in the corner if it's bolted to the floor? Hey, what's that box down there? Oh, that's my safe full of me money, me gold, me jewelry, me important documents. If it's combination lock, make sure it's locked, cover it up and this sort of stuff. Are you going to change the combination every 6 months? Every time someone comes into their house and notices where the keys are, for instance, or all these sort of little things. You might even be renting a house where there's already a safe box or a safe installed into the home. Who else has got the combination? If it's combination lock, you can guarantee the owner will know. Has he given you the combinations and say, right, there's the when you move in, you sign all your agreement stuff. He says, there's the combination safe in the corner. This is the combination. Who else has he shared that information with? Or here's the key. Who else has got the keys to that box or system,
Yeah,
So
I agree.
be very wary of this sort of stuff. And people on the face of it can be trustworthy, but if there's anything in it for them, money to be made, resources that they need to get through whatever excuse they make, then be very, very, very wary. If it's a combination lock, I mean, if you know how to do it, they can be quite easy to change. But yeah, losing the combination to a locked safe is another problem altogether. But so if anyone's got any other tips or stories, questions, queries in the comments, put them down there. We'd like to hear them.
Okay, how to Gordon, take care. Thanks for stopping by the way.
Goodbye, How to Garden.
Thanks everyone for listening to me and putting up with me. Hope everyone stays safe.
I find a lot of
there.
these safes, the small commercial ones, they are quite expensive. They are quite robust in terms of, they've got 3 or 4, 5, 6 rods that all engage when you lock it. But the actual internal space in some of these things are quite small. They're very, very thick units. Some of them, yes, they're high, rated to 3-4 hours of fire rated safety timelines, and yes, they can be all waterproofed and submersible to whatever depth, 2, 3, 4, 50 meters and so on. but the internal dimensions of these things are very, very small, and they're bloody expensive as well, especially the ones
they are.
Even a good robust safe that will take an A4 document, that is an expensive safe, and they're heavy as well, which fine, but they're in some cases they're out of many people's reach and out of many people's priorities as well. The safe or hide in place or wherever it is, you've got to afford that safe box or safe locker the same classification of secrecy and security as the items you're putting in it. So, therefore, if you put in your passport in there or your whatever documents in there that you classify as, personal secret, then that box is the same level of secrecy, and the keys are the same level of secrecy. You don't just lock your box and hang them up in your key press with the rest of the items and your car keys and stuff like that, because it's a go-to point. You may not even want to put your key press downstairs in the typical place that everyone has it. Kitchen, cupboard, lobby, all this sort of stuff. Have it somewhere where it's out the way, and a potential intruder has to go through various other levels of security to get to, if you see what I mean. You make it as hard as possible for someone to access that key as possible. So you could even alarm it, but yeah, it's a definite I've worked with security for information assurance for a while, and normally you get these devices such as a safe, for instance, which is super secure, super rigid, they're robust, they can withstand X, Y, and Z. You can blow them up with dynamite and whatever, shoot 50 cal rounds through them and it'll be protected. The weak point will always be the human interface. It'll be someone telling their kids the password and that will slip, someone losing the keys, or someone letting the keys or mislabeling the keys, You know, they'd have the key to their safe, and on the key it will repeat, you know, the word safe will be written on it, a straight go-to sort of indicator straight away. You know, the human element will always be the weak link. So even down to, you know, the location of spare keys. If you've got a safe and it's a key operated safe, then you obviously want a spare key, because it's a single point of loss. If you lost that key, that's it, gone. Good luck if you're a lock picker or you've got a powerful drill. But, you know, where are you going to put the spare key? And you could even go down the avenue of putting that key in an envelope. Well, you could go down the route of surrounding the key with foil and then putting that in an envelope, sealed envelope, and then storing that envelope somewhere else secure. Or you could even just leave your key with another trusted family member if the trust is there, or hide it, you know, but not under the doormat or anywhere it's just, you know, easy. So yeah, like I say, not every plan is robust. I mean, I'd like to, thinking about it, bolster my, you know, sort of documentation system up. Hey, our treasured home, how you doing? You know, so my priority for me is water, with a bit of fire thrown on top of that. So I'd really like something portable with, I would personally like a fireproof document holder, which is also waterproof, really. But you know, to be honest, I haven't really got round to that. It's just in a waterproof case, which is a grab and go thing. So, you know, I've got vulnerabilities. An intruder can come into my place and identify that quite easily, really. So it's not until you sort of delve into the weeds and talk about these things that you realize your own sort of downfalls and vulnerabilities, really. And you know, people got to be honest about these sort of things. Don't think, oh, you know, it will never happen to me, because it won't until it does. And when it does, it's too late. You know, it's happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't happen to me though, like specifically.
Going back to photographs, one of the main reasons I thought of photographs to begin with was because it always brings me back to the scenario of the both the big tsunamis that occurred, the one in the Indian Ocean and the Japanese one, where, you know, we saw it on the news, where their homes have been completely destroyed. You know, what was the only thing that was left in these houses, when you look back across the footage in the aftermath, was basically a concrete floor. If they were lucky enough to have a concrete foundation, that was it, a square concrete surface on the floor. That's where your house was. And you know, will your secure box, if you've had one, will it survive that onslaught? And it's not just a case of rubble and water. You're talking about the force of water and debris pushing and swarming over and waving over that sort of property. And afterwards, you know, because quite a lot of people died in that event, or those two events, there were people looking for family members, friends that had died or missing, should I say, and pets that had gone missing. And they ended up, you know, finding these people. They ended up resorting to looking at these boards with photographs on. Have you seen this person, for instance? And it was a picture of their friend or family member. If you haven't got a picture of your friend or family member and you're in that situation, then how do you go about looking for these people? Oh, you know, his mates, you know, my friend, you know, he's gone missing. His name's Dave. You know, what does he look like? You know, average height, average age. Thousands of people look like that, you know. So, like we say, a picture paints 1,000 words. picture boards are always good. And if you have got spare pictures, or even if you've got a digital backup somewhere that you've managed to rescue, fine, you can potentially access a printer somewhere, print the picture off, and you've just sort of bolstered up your way of finding that person. And you've also sort of made yourself feel better that you've done something to do that. Yeah, it can, you know, traumatic times can be very, very distressing, I suppose. So, I mean, it's not just a case of safeguarding your personal documentation in the various aspects we discussed, you know, locations, alternate locations, multiple copies, etc., in case your abode gets destroyed or whatever. It's also, people also got to think of what they carry around day to day. So their EDC, their wallet or their purse. I mean, how many people do not protect their personal documentation in their wallet without, you know, for me personally, I use a RIFID wallet, so an RFID protected wallet to protect my bank cards.
Like I have.
Exactly. You know, so that's another form of document protection there. You know, you're protecting your own personal privacy, your banking information. It's all too easy these days for someone to skim your electronic signature through your back pocket, through your coat pocket, or your bag, for instance. And, you know, a simple step, get an RFID protective case. It's all about, like I said, you're protecting, you should afford the same level of protection as to what you're protecting. So if you're protecting your bank account, why wouldn't you?
Hey, Thor, good to see you, brother.
How you doing?
What's going on, guys? Hope
Hey,
you're
good,
doing
you right?
amazing.
We had fun up here.
I just kind of finished up work. I should still be working for like another 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes, but I'm like, it's Friday, right? And
Yep.
I'm in sales, so I can do what I want. So
I would
Good
say
to see you guys.
I would say exactly the same thing as you about being in sales, but I never know when anybody could be listening just by fluke. So
yeah.
So,
For me, it's good because like I've got my phone on me 24/7. Unfortunately, for some of us, we want to get rid of our phone. I can't because of my job, but you know, I'll be out on vacation picking blueberries and foraging blueberries on the property or in the greenhouse or dealing with the cows. And like one of my clients will phone me up and, hey, you know, blah, blah. And I'm like, I got to take the call. So it's like, you know, that's the good thing is I work all the time. So I can afford to take the extra 30 minutes right now and say hi to you guys.
nice.
That sounds
Really
good.
happy. Firstly, I'm really happy that you're on panel. Secondly, have you ever found that sales can at times be something that can really build a person's mental endurance because it can be so difficult at times? Sales can be a very challenging job. It depends on what you're selling, I guess, as well.
Yes and no. So for me, we're getting way off topic here, like, but I'll kind of quickly cover your question. My dad was a sales rep for almost all his life, and he kind of imparted me some good qualities, I would say. So for me, looking after my clients, it is like everyone kind of, you look at a sales rep as, oh, he's trying to sell us a used car. I hate that kind of thought and that attitude and that kind of thing, because for me, I deal with clients on an ongoing basis. It's not like I have someone new I'm going to sell something to and get rid of them. So for me, it's like I want to make sure I'm providing my clients with stuff that they can use or they can resell or something that's beneficial for them. Because if it doesn't work for them, if they're not able to resell it, if they do not benefit from it, then it doesn't benefit me, right? They're not going to come back to me. They're not going to say, hey, you were correct in what you suggested to us. They're going to go, hey, that guy sold us a whole bunch of junk. I didn't love it. Yeah, he's done. Yeah, we love our cows too. They're so great. Thank you so much.
And yeah, when it comes to the human components, I really enjoy that part of it. That's why, even though that the position that I'm in can be rather challenging, the whole new business development side of things, essentially reaching out to brand new cold calling companies, that type of thing.
Okay, yeah.
I'm reaching out to brand new companies and doing high level technology sales, business to business sales as well. So it can be. It can always be exciting as well, meeting new people and being able to discuss, the technology. And I really enjoy the technology side of things as well. And we're saving lives essentially. So I'm really happy about that.
Nice.
At the same time, it's
cool.
Sending people back home to their families at the end of the day. That's basically what we're able to do by reducing the amount of incidents that take place through the workforce. So health and safety side. So there is definitely like an interesting component, and I do have a good amount of people that I work with that are really good people, So I'm happy to have that side of things. And this is funny that we've taken it to sales. So
yeah, and my coworkers are awesome, and what I sell is awesome too, because like I sell pew-pews. So for me, it's like my life is pretty good in that way, and my coworkers are all awesome. My clients are awesome. It's just I love what I do. So for me, it's there's when people say, thank God it's Friday, I'm like, whatever, Friday's just another day in the week. For me, I'm like,
Is that a Gamo? The top left there, middle. The black one.
We have some Daisy, Hatson, Stoger. I forget what else. I don't think I have Gamo. Those are all the kids' pellet rifles.
Yep.
So they have access to those anytime. And then these two right above me are both deactivated antiques.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Good stuff.
All the other stuff's locked up.
Right. So here we go. It's sort of related. So how do you locked up in a gun storage cabinet? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I was kind of saying in the chat. So for gun safes, for me, we don't keep our documents in the safe because it's one thing that we keep our documents kind of like they're in my armoire right in the bedroom. So it's one of the first things that we're going to grab. We've got a little Rubbermaid container that's waterproof, and that's the first thing that goes in our bag, and we leave with it because it has all the important information. The thing with the gun safe and that kind of stuff is, if there's a forest fire coming, which we've had before, we had it about 1.5 kilometers from our homestead. If there's a forest fire coming and they can't put it out and we have to leave, I don't want to be screwing around with trying to open the safe because
that would take basically forever.
It's going to take a bit, and there's nothing else in it I'm going to grab. I'm not going to grab any of my pew-pews that are in the safe because, I'm going to a hotel. I'm not going out into the bush. I'm not fighting, a firefight. I'm not dealing with roving bandits. I'm dealing with a forest fire that is endangering my homestead.
Yeah.
So I need my documents to be able to pay for the hotel, to be able to, and my visa and that kind of stuff's always in my wallet. So that's always going with me too.
Your gun safes, are they fire safety rated to the same level?
They
of safe?
are fire safety rated. I don't trust fire safety ratings. I've seen too many incidents across Canada where people have had their houses burned down in forest fires. We've dealt with, through my business as well, we've dealt with warranties on pew-pews where the safe, actually basically everything inside the safe melted. So, guys were wanting to replace stuff because their stocks on the melt and that sort of stuff. So, even though the safe is fire rated, you're talking about something where the fire department has to be there within a certain amount of time to put the fire out. In the case of a forest fire, an emergency, that's not going to happen. You're talking about mass destruction of a town or something like that. So the emergency department is not coming to put your fire out. So yes, fire rated is nice if you're talking about a single fire in your house. But if you're talking about a forest fire, forget it. Everything inside is going to be melted.
Yeah, it's a good point. Good point. So, obviously, alternate locations and stuff like that for other sort of essential documents are required. I'm the same as you. I've got a grab and go bag for my documents as well.
Yeah, and for us, I always refer to it as a get home bag because it's my bag that when I go to work, it's my bag to make sure I get home. It's that same bag is the bag we're going to grab to leave. Yeah. There's not much in it that would help us if we're leaving in the case of a forest fire, because in that case, we're really becoming refugees.
Yeah.
So in that case, my visa is going to be the best thing that helps us in that case. It's not going to be anything else. So, but it's going to go into my get home bag. We're going to throw that in the truck anyway, along with some other stuff. And in the truck, we've already got other stuff packed. Like my truck is kind of like a mobile get home, bug out kind of thing with what I've got stored in it. So,
what? So a good example of a specific threat there. What sort of notice to move have you given yourself for this sort of event? Are they normally, you get alerts 30 minutes, an hour plus, or less than 30 minutes and stuff?
So we dealt. I'm going to use the forest fire again as an example, since that's what we dealt with. It's probably a good threat to most of Canada or any other rural places in the US as well. Where we are, we're extremely lucky because we're so close to Quebec City, and they have the water bombers on station there. So when the forest fire broke out here, about 1.5 kilometers from us, there was 3 of them already circling, already putting that forest fire out within a few minutes. So I can't remember whether it was 7 or 17 acres it burned, but there was 3 of them on station already working on that forest fire. However, if that forest fire got out of hand and the wind continued to blow, if those water bombers were not on station, not at our location, I would say we would have maybe, 15 minutes to really get out and get somewhere safe based on our transportation, like our roads and that kind of stuff. Now, for us, packing up to leave in that kind of situation would be very quick, because our primary goal would be either get to a hotel out of the area or get to friends or family outside the area. Our biggest issue for us would be our animals, letting our cows out, letting the cows out, opening the doors to let the chickens out. They probably wouldn't make it. The cows probably would, but those would be our 2 primary things. Documentation, again, we've got the little Rubbermaid container. Anything that is not in our wallet or purse stays in that Rubbermaid container, and that goes with us.
Which container is that? Sorry, rubber.
It's like a little waterproof Rubbermaid container. It's got a flip-up lid.
Right.
So, and it's perfect, almost document size. So, all of our cards, like our birth certificate, social insurance cards, all that kind of stuff, it goes in there. We've got, the cards, say my card, because where I was, my birth certificate is laminated. There are others who cannot laminate their birth certificate. What I suggest in that case is vacuum seal it and then trim it up to be able to vacuum seal that small area. So that's kind of, if you put it in that, it's a little container. You can grab it, throw it in a backpack, throw it in your purse, that sort of thing, and go.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So do you use? I suggested earlier, a cheap option for people out there is to store any electronic documents they got. Just keep them on their email system so they can access it remotely anywhere. Do you use that at all?
No, we don't. We had started to put tons of stuff on USB. We looked at different options like the cloud and that sort of stuff. However, for anything that's on the cloud or that sort of thing, if you look into it, none of that actually belongs to you. So say one day they decide, yeah, we're not doing the cloud anymore. That's not your information. Those are not your pictures now. That's theirs. So you no longer have access to it. If you use USBs, there's now a lot of places where, say you put all your information on a USB, you go into a bank and say, here's all my information. It's on a USB. I can show you, my documentation. They're like, nope, we don't accept USBs anymore because the amount of viruses that are now on USBs. So there's so many businesses that don't accept USBs. So if you try and give your USB key to a bank, they probably won't accept it. They won't open anything there because of the threat of viruses.
Yeah, that's a good key point.
Yeah.
And also, anyone got any sort of these storage companies? They might be in a foreign country completely, and your information is also subject to the threats in that foreign country as well. So you don't know what's happening in that foreign country. That servers could catch fire in that country, and who's going to where's their backup information stored and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things to think about and a lot of strands, but like everything I keep saying to people, if you can keep it as simple as possible, then the better it is. But there's a lot of robust options out there.
The biggest thing I'd say to anybody is look at the threats in your area. So, for example, me and you will not have the same threats in our area. Me and Guardian Fitness definitely do not have the same threats in our area. Shadow and I do not have this. Well, besides ice and snow, we don't really have the same threats. So it's one of those that you really have to identify the threats in your area, the biggest one, and start taking them from top down. Number one, number two, and kind of work towards what those threats are and how you would prepare for them. And once you start to identify those threats and manage your documents and your stuff based on those threats, then it makes everything else a lot easier.
Well, in my city, basically, we can have hurricanes, and we have a lot of forest around my neighborhood, so that can catch fire.
Yep.
But we have another thing too. We have the E4 go straight through the town and south and north. And the problem is there is a lot of heavy trucks that transport chemicals that are really dangerous. So that will be a really huge threat. You never know, because you can have a gas cloud of some odd chemical that can basically kill you.
Exactly. And that's the other thing is, like, how close are you to transportation systems? So highways, if you've got a 30-car pileup, there's going to be transports in there. What's the threat that's in those transports? If you're close to a railway track and that train derails, is there a threat to your water system, the air supply, anything like that? Like there's different things that happen for each of us based on our location. And I think as long as you start to address those threats, then the threat of actual civilization melting down is not as much a big a problem, because you're already starting to prepare in different ways. So it just like, if you're prepared for this, that kind of helps with this. So.
So I just think we're moving quite quickly towards, if you look at technologies as well, we are definitely looking more towards cardless interactions as well, because obviously with all the cards, it actually becomes a nuisance in your wallet. Like you eventually have like, up to 10 cards with various things, just different grocery stores cards, different saving cards. And then when people give you business cards on top of it as well, it really starts becoming like, that's why I think like a digital wallet, having like digital wallets as well, where you basically can scan somebody's like their digital card, so that you can like just put it onto your. You hear what I'm saying? Like there definitely will be a lot of nice technologies that are coming about that are going to make it a lot more easier to have. Because even the card thing, it definitely becomes a bit of a nuisance. I mean, biometrics can help with that quite a lot.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying before too, is there's so many cards that are nice to have and are nice to be able to use and that sort of stuff. But when it comes down to it, there's only a few cards that really, it's like the Lord of the Rings, the one ring to rule them all. If you have a passport, that kind of overrides everything else, right? Your passport is kind of your identification for everything. Everyone, everywhere will accept a passport, versus say you have a grocery store card, or Mountain Equipment Co-op, if you have that card, if you have those kind of things. So the biggest thing is, if you have access to your credit card, if you have access to a passport, and you're pretty much good to go with a passport and a credit card.
Your passport can do what your ID can do, and then like your ID can't do what your passport can do. So obviously, definitely.
With that, it can help you get everything else back if you do lose them.
Yeah. I mean, here we don't have, there's no standard ID card here in Britain. It's just most people take it for granted that you've got a driving license, which is probably, a good robust form of photo ID, your name and address on it, and your passport, like you say. And this is why why I hold true as well, is your passport is the number one sort of document. And everyone knows
the one that rules them all, kind of.
Yeah, because people know that the way you go about applying for your passport has gone through such a rigorous check that you can't question the invalidity of your passport if your name and address and photo is in there.
Exactly.
I mean, I've got I used to carry my driving license around with me all the time in my wallet. I don't bother anymore. I can't see the point, and it's just another document that I can lose, really. So I keep that in with my other essential documents as well. In fact, the only thing I have in my wallet, I've got a contacts card with phone numbers and stuff, bank card, and a load of discount cards, really. And that's, veterans ID card and that sort of stuff. And that's pretty much it.
And it's funny because a lot of those cards aren't accepted as actual ID. So, for example, I have my driver's license, but because I'm now in Quebec, it looks weird everywhere I go. So if I go down to the US, a lot of people will look at my driver's license and go, what is that? That doesn't make any sense. Do you have your passport? Yep, here we go. Done. I have my firearms license. So for Canada, we have what's called a PAL. your firearm possession and acquisitions license, and it has your photo on it. As well, we also have our health cards because of our social health care system. It has our picture on it too. Both of those, however, are not really accepted as ID. So there's times where I'll go in to buy alcohol, and every so often they'll card me. I don't know why. I'm 50 years old. I'm pretty sure I look 50. And I'm like, are you sure you really want to ID me? And they're like, yeah, we're IDing everybody. And you show, for example, I'll use my PAL sometimes. And then every so often there's the medical card. That's not accepted. It's like, no, you got to have some other form of ID. Again, here, the driver's license is okay, but that passport kind of just like trumps everything.
Yeah. I mean, here, there's no requirement to have, I don't know what people do, because people here, it's no requirement to have a driving license as standard. There's no requirement to have a passport. And,
oh, wow.
You know, so people out there, there's people out there.
I wouldn't say there's a requirement to have it. I suggest everybody does.
Yes,
like,
essential.
If you don't have a passport, I highly recommend getting one. Just because not only is it the ID to rule them all, but if you need to leave your country, you need a passport.
Yeah, definitely. That was my mentality. I don't know what people do without these things, because here people don't need passports. They don't need driving licenses, obviously, unless they're going to travel and drive. But they're not cheap documents either. I mean, I've just renewed mine, and for a 10-year passport here, it costs basically £100 to renew it.
I'm going to mute myself here. Bridget's kind of hiding in the corner. She wants to say hi, but she's not going to say hi. But we're going to have a little chat here. So
you're all good. Kay's, as I said to preparedness veteran earlier as well, Kay's been working out since the beginning of our stream, like in the other room as well. So it's all good. I think, yeah.
Hey, Howie. And you were saying, Guardian?
So just as comparison, how much do your passports all cost you? I take it, I mean, I don't know what other countries are like, but here, standard passports are 10-year passports. They cost £85, but by the time you've put them through registered post and all that sort of stuff, it costs £100 basically. So for here, UK, it's £100, 10-year passport. What's yours, Shadow?
A passport cost 400 crowns, and a national ID card cost 400.
Right, so you've got a national ID card as well. Is that mandatory for all citizens?
That is the national ID card. You have to go to the police station to get that national ID card.
Is it optional?
It is for those who don't have any driver's license.
Right.
I use my driver's license as ID card.
Yeah. And is that biometric linked?
Yeah. The national ID is has some. It's really hard to. It has a hologram on it.
Right. So, and your passport, is yours 10 years? Is that how long yours lasts?
No, we had 10 years on our passports, but now it's 5 years.
All right.
They are valid.
We used to have 1-year passports and 10-year passports. It's just gone to 10-year passports. That was after we left the EU as well, because we used to have EU passports. Now we've got British passports. It can get quite a mess here depending on how old you are.
It's so funny because our passports here are 10 years as well. So on my passport picture, I don't have my beard and my hair is like short. And then my driver's license, my beard is long and my hair is down to here. And now it's like in between. It's hilarious.
We have to, even when it comes to driving licenses, we have to renew them every, I think it's every 10 years for sort of the age, face change and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you reach 75, I think it's every couple of years you have to renew your passport. Sorry, your driving license. Yeah.
So with the whole driving license thing as well, within the last 2 years, they weren't able, our local government in our province where we're at, wasn't able to issue any of the speed traffic licenses that any of the speed cameras caught. So essentially for the last 2 years in our province, and they've announced this to the local newspapers as well, you can look into it, we've not had any single fines be handed out to any of our civilians. So no matter... And now when they've announced this, they basically announced that they're still unable to do it.
What?
So basically what they've done is, the way that they monitor it is they've got a couple of like speed traffic, speed cops that are out there, traffic cops that are patrolling the highway every now and again and that type of thing. But it's extremely rare to see a traffic cop as well, for the most part. And it's just like now people can essentially race wherever they want to, and there's no way that your speed trap fine will be issued to you. The reason why is because of corruption. So now when I say this, there are certain advantages in this country, I promise you, to like having a very backwards kind of governments in terms of the corruption level and stuff like that. I mean, all governments are corrupt. It's just how they hide it, right? Like no matter where you go. So, and if any government,
it depends on the degree.
Yeah, if any governments are listening, that's just my opinion, though. Don't worry. And obviously they're not. This is not special enough for them to be doing so. So my point that I'm making is that it's just like, it's amazing that has been the case. And then over here, our punishment does not come in terms of how much the licensing costs you, but you can end up sitting for like 2 full days. Sometimes like a day, you don't understand. You can get there at like 6. The Home Affairs offices open at 7 a.m. You need to be there at 5 a.m. to make sure that you are in the front of the queue, or you're standing in a queue of about 100 to 150 people at 7 a.m. at Home Affairs over here, so to get our passport or to get your ID or to get anything like that. So basically, you have to sit from 7 a.m. all the way till sometimes 5 p.m. like at the end of the day before you really get your identification. So that's where the real suffering comes in. And not just that, I'll tell you the longest that I've ever actually spent sitting in a queue was 5.5 days. What happened was at one of the local hospitals here, because of the way that the government's run, you have such a long line that at the end of the day at 7 p.m. they give you your ticket number. You go home at the hospital, you go home, you come back in the morning, 6 a.m. the next morning, you hand in your ticket, you go back in the ticket queue that you were at. You do this for 5 days, doing nothing but sitting in a queue. And then eventually you get seen to
Welcome to Canadian healthcare.
Jesus, that's
yeah.
Hey, Shadow, you need a passport.
Canadian healthcare is the same. My grandson, I took him in for stitches. This was years ago, before it got really bad. I want to say it was at least 7-8 years ago, and it's gotten way worse since then. It was 8 hours to get stitches for him, and he split his forehead open.
You wouldn't think so. Not in
he
Canada.
Was there in the emergency room, bawling his eyes out, blood running down his head. I've got like gauze on his forehead, just holding it for 8 hours. Finally, they're like, yep, guess what? You're beyond the 6 hours that is required for preventing a scar, so you can just go home.
What?
Yep. Within 6 hours, if you have a cut, it's like within 6 hours that they can stitch it up to help prevent a scar. So they were like, yep, you're now at 8 hours, so you might as well just go home because it's now stopped bleeding and he's going to have a scar whether we stitch it up or not.
Oof, that's almost
Welcome
as
to
farcical
Canadian
as
health.
that's almost as farcical as our health system.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so bad.
Well, it's things like that that people don't realize until they actually see it and experience it. I mean, we've been in the accident emergency room over the last couple
We
of
didn't have
years.
a ticket number though, Guardian.
Right. We've been in the ER a couple of times over the last couple of years, and we've seen it. And we same as you. You know, you wait in. Best case scenario, 4 hours, and there's a big screen on the wall, and it's got current patients in the emergency room, average wait, and it could be up to 12 hours. And it's because as soon as you go in there, you're triaged amongst someone else, and the more cases that come in, you're just waiting and waiting and waiting. It's just pretty grim, really. But
what happens with ours is so you go into an emergency room, you get kind of put in one path, but what would happen is people would come in an ambulance. So they were like heart attack or gunshot or, fell down the stairs or who knows what. They would get seen first. Then what would happen in the last few years is people, I've got a headache, I'm going to call an ambulance. So they would pay the $60 for the ambulance to be taken to the hospital to be seen ahead of anyone that was waiting in the hospital. So now it's like, now the whole system is so screwed up that, yeah.
It's interesting. Just going back to passports, interesting. I mean,
let's get back on topic here before I get into politics.
I'm just about to. I've got to disappear in a second, but it's interesting to note that passports do not have addresses in them in UK. It's just basically your face, date of birth, and passport number, and that's it.
I have to check. I don't think ours do too.
Wait a minute. In the back page of our ones, there is a section in there that you can put your own emergency contact details in for someone else in case you're injured or missing or whatever.
Okay.
But there's no. It's not. It doesn't come back from the passport office printed with your name and address in at all. No.
Let me just run. I want to check ours.
Another good thing to look at passports is if anyone's out there, because I just got mine, I was playing about with it, is get a UV torch and shine it on the passport, and it should illuminate with all sorts of different colors and patterns as well. But yeah, definitely. I mean, Shadow, I'd definitely get a passport if you can, even if you've got no intention at all of traveling elsewhere abroad. It's such a good, key, valid documentation to have, and you never know that you could be in a position where they're evacuating people to different areas for whatever reasons. And yeah,
good point.
I don't ever see a reason why I'd want to leave where I live.
It doesn't. It doesn't have my address.
Right. So I mean,
this is Canadian passport. There's an interesting. I think that they stuck this on when I went to Iceland, but it's like, I don't know whether it's an RFID code or something, but it was a little sticker.
It shouldn't be, not if it's a sticker. I mean, when yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I remember they stuck that on when we went to Iceland.
Most passports now should be capable of going through the digital system as well, so they should be readable through the NFC system through your phone at least as well.
Yeah,
but they all have chips in. Yeah.
Country, passport number, my name, birth date, where I was born, date of issue, where it was issued, but no actual address. That's interesting.
Same here. Yeah, like I say, there's a page in the back where you can put your next of kin details in, but
is there?
That's it. There is an ours. Yeah.
I would say there should be the same as British or UK and Canadian, but no, there isn't on the Canadian.
All right. Get a UV torch and shine it over the passport pages. It should illuminate with all sorts of fancy patterns and stuff to for anti sort of reproduction.
No.
No, interestingly enough, when I applied for my passport, I did it online. And when you apply for it online, you go down to town, you take a picture, you take your passport photos in a photo booth, and it gives you a number now, a unique number, and it transmits your photos to some sort of central database somewhere. And then you go back home, you go online, and one of the first questions that comes up is, what is your passport photo number? And you input the code that it gives you from the machine, and your face appears magically on the screen, sort of thing. Anyway,
oh, yeah.
When the 3 or 4 questions down the line, it asks you to get your old passport if you've got one, and scan it with your phone using the NFC function on it, the near field communication function. Same thing. People don't know. People use to contactless payment through their phones. It's that sort of function. So I did mine, and the little chip in the passport, the information that holds is your photo, and it was really good quality. It come up at, and all the details that you've just read out there, Thor, date of birth, name, passport number, religion might be in there, all this sort of stuff. So yeah, and it should be treated like another digital sort of document or device, really. Protect it. Because it does hold digital information in there. What level of protection people want to do, it's up to them, but it does do that.
It's funny because I'd start showing you, like, cover stuff up and show you stuff, but I'm like, don't know what people can actually take off of this.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Leave it up to the imagination.
Exactly. So I'm like, yeah.
And then
you don't get to see it. You get to see this.
Yeah. Passports are, they're quite a sought after thing to people to steal.
Especially the Canadian ones, because they're like, they let everybody in here.
Yeah. Someone nicks a passport, they can sell it quite easily, quite a lot of money probably. On the black market and so on. So yeah. Anyway, I've got to disappear, Shadow, and
yeah. Okay, no problem.
Catch up with you in a while. I'll message you tomorrow, Guardian, and Thor. I'll catch you in a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Great talking with you.
So, all those in the chat, catch you later, and good luck, people.
Catch you later.
Chat to you soon. Goodbye for now.
Yep. See you later. Well, here in Sweden, our passports, when you get your passport, you have to they scan your fingerprints.
Okay. Ouch.
That is an extra security thing.
Wow. I don't think I've ever given my fingerprint. Actually, I did. I think it was like, there was one time I gave my fingerprints, and it was because my parents were doing this thing where it was like the local police or the RCMP or something was doing like, it's this thing where you could go in and get your children ID'd and like fingerprints and picture taken and that sort of stuff. So if they were ever kidnapped or something, then the police have like some sort of form of identification for your kids. But I want to say I was like 12, 10, something like that. But I've never had to do a fingerprint again after that.
So when your passport are not valid anymore and you have to get a new one, you have to scan your fingerprints again.
Oh, wow. Well, that's one way of making sure that it's actually you.
Yeah, so if somebody steal your passport, your fingerprints are on it. I don't know how they do it, but they get the fingerprints in the passport somehow.
Huh.
So, gents, I have to say that I will be doing a similar thing to Preparedness Veteran at the moment. I've been on for 2.5 hours as well on my side, and I do look forward to chatting to you again sometime, Thor. I'd like to have a stream together again at some point.
Yeah.
Nice. And just have a lovely weekend with you. And thanks for The bit of a catch up as well. Shadow, I appreciate it. Have a lovely weekend, everybody.
Take care, eh? We'll talk to you soon. Hit me up anytime
Take
you
care,
want to
Guardian.
chat.
Yeah, look forward to it. Bye for now.
Yeah.
You know where you can find me. So I had, when I was a kid, I had a passport, but I never used that one.
Huh.
So
I think as soon as I could, I think I was like 16, maybe 16 or 18 when I got my first passport. I've like never not had a passport because my parents always traveled. So I always had to have some form of like identification when I was old enough. And then with multiple jobs and work and all that, I always traveled. So I've always had to keep my passport up to date.
yeah, my first, I have only one passport, but I think I was 6, 7, 8 years old when I got my passport.
Yeah. Okay.
And back then, the passports were valid for 10 years.
Okay.
And then
Ours
they changed.
still are here.
Then they changed it to 5 years, which is really odd in my opinion. They should have it, still have it for 10 years valid. But
it's funny because, like I was saying before, is my passport photo. I don't have a beard at all.
Yeah.
I have like my head is shaved because I think it was like when I was in the forces. So there's nothing. So it's always funny because when I show my passport when I'm traveling, and everyone always does like a second look because it's like now I've got the big long beard and long hair and that sort of stuff. So it takes a bit, but it's like everyone that looks at it still recognizes that it's me. So so I guess the 10 years is okay. I get the 5-year thing, but
yeah. It's odd that they changed the time for how long a passport should be valid.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at that kind of stuff, documentation around the world and what different countries accept, what different countries. Hey, Bob, how's it going? Good. Yeah, what different countries accept, what is applicable in different countries, what is, like I said, what is acceptable. And Bob, you've traveled out of the U.S. So
many
again,
times.
I think you probably heard what I was saying, that like the passport kind of is the one ID to rule them all. If you're traveling out of the U.S. as well to say Thailand or something like that, I would say the passport is kind of the one thing that rules them all, eh?
Yeah, sure it is. Yeah,
something you have to protect, something you have to keep, make sure
Mhm.
you always have it.
Yeah, I'll kind of go back in the earlier conversations about the elections, and multinationals are having elections.
No, don't get me started on politics.
Well, just bear with me. As far as that goes into preparedness, get ready for it, because you remember what happened during the George Floyd riots here in Seattle. I don't know if you remember. It was just a few years ago where they took over part of a city. So
yeah, they showed it on TV even here in Sweden, so I remember that.
Yeah, that's just over there. I lived through that stuff. So a passport for us is vital. It is vital, because let me tell you guys, these radicals are extremely well organized. They're very well trained. They know what they're doing. They've toppled governments all over the world. They know exactly what they're doing. And they use the same methods to take down part of Seattle. So what they use is fire. Keep that in mind. Have something ready to be able to get the hell away from your place. Let it burn down, man. The most important part is you and your family. and
Yeah.
that's where the passport comes in. If we're burned out of here, we've got ways of being able to get a few provisions in the car, ways of concealing us, personally concealing us in case.
There's pictures, there's items, there's
Mhm.
stuff like that that is memorable. But if you
Yeah.
don't have your family,
Yeah. You've lost everything then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah,
But,
exactly.
and let me add to that is that these guys are very good at blocking off the highways and the roadways. They know what they're doing. They have chainsaws, guys. They just drop trees across the road. Power poles, cut your power off. And if we're not able to get to the airport or to a different, we have 5 Filipino families around the area we can go to for shelter. If we can't get to them, we're going to the airport. And those passports are solid gold, man. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's part of our plan. If it gets to the point to where they're going to burn us out of here, nearby families that we know and trust, and then airport. If not, we're stuck, and I don't want to be stuck. I want to be able to get out of here and protect my wife and kids.
Yeah.
We can bounce over to Europe, or we can bounce over to the Philippines too. So,
And it's funny when you discuss this kind of thing, you're talking about you're kind of in a big city. So when we talk about yourself or a guardian or PV or anyone else, Shadow and myself, it's all very situation dependent, location dependent, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
But there's some stuff that is like always kind of at the top of the list. So like if you have a passport or don't have a passport, get a passport. The passport's kind of key no matter what.
Mhm.
But whether you're having to leave because of civil unrest or you have to leave due to fires, yeah,
passports are solid gold, man. When we travel, we protect them. I know years ago, 20 years ago, the government advised Americans to always carry your passport on you. Those days are over. Don't do that. Don't carry your passport on you if you're a foreigner. Keep it locked up in the hotel safe. They'll lock it up for you and give you a receipt and everything, and guard that thing, and also take a photograph of your passport. And we do that, and we put it on our carry-on bag in when we travel. Just a basic paper copy, because that way it's got your embassy has got your passport number, and that shows that you are in possession or were in possession.
It's funny because you just mentioned something the key. If you are traveling out of your own country, make sure you have a record of where the embassy is in the country you're going to.
Mm-hmm.
That is huge. So whether you're going to, like, I've traveled to Iceland, France, Spain, Italy, Germany, down to the US, I always like to keep an eye on where the Canadian embassy is. That way, if I have to make my way there, then at least I know where it is.
Yeah, there's also what's called consulates. Your embassy consulates in different cities. Know where those are. It's very important. That's a good topic to bring up. Know exactly where those are and how to get to them. It's like 20 years ago when I first met my wife. I flew her up from her home to meet me in a different city on a different island, because if things went sideways with her, because even though we talked online for over a year, if things went sideways with her, because I don't really know her, you know what I mean? It was within walking distance to the U.S. Embassy.
Oh,
you never know. Yeah, you never know.
And then,
especially if you're going to go over there for meeting someone that you really. I mean, honestly, I talked to her for a year. I felt very safe and comfortable, but still, Canadian foreigners are like us three right here with the white faces and foreigners.
Yeah,
we are targeted overseas. We are. So
we stick out like a sore thumb.
Absolutely, exactly. You can't hide. Yeah, you
No.
can't.
Well,
Yeah.
you can do your best to try, but it will not work.
Yes,
It won't work.
when the population is brown and they're this tall.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a 6 foot,
Yeah.
a 6 foot tall guy. Yeah,
When I can only grow a beard here and not everywhere else. It's like,
Exactly.
yeah. I'd have to spend a bit more time down south to get a little bit of a tan before yeah.
Some shoe polish.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Do a little Justin Trudeau. I'd be okay.
Little sparkle pants. Yeah.
I could hide out in Iceland or Norway.
Vanessa says, glad that overseas I can use the military bases in many locations. Yeah, that's a good idea. If you have that possibility.
Was it me that froze,
Oh,
or did you guys just freeze?
Yeah. I think you froze.
Yeah, you froze.
Thor. Yeah.
I froze.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you missed the comment about me hiding out in Iceland
No.
or Sweden or Finland or
And that's one right around where you ended, right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sparkle Pants was listening.
Yeah, but me hiding out in Thailand or the Philippines or no, not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen. Yeah.
The only places I have been in Norway and Denmark. That's all.
Yeah. I still need to get to Sweden, Finland, Norway, Denmark. That's where I haven't been. I've been basically everywhere else. So we still want to get there. I've been to France, but I have not been to Normandy, where I want to go. South of France, I have not been there. So everywhere else, basically. It's so funny because I've been to Dominican and Florida and Vegas, and no, I'll go back to Iceland in a heartbeat.
Oh,
sign
you
me
got
up
that
for
cold
that.
blood, huh? You got
Oh,
that
yeah.
cold blood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Except for Savannah, Georgia. I've been to Savannah, Georgia many times, and I would move there in a heartbeat if it wasn't for the fire ants. But
Yeah.
such is life.
Mhm. Yeah.
When they
that's
talk
where-
about Canadians being nice, you've never visited Savannah, Georgia.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've been to Georgia, but I was in Coffee County visiting family down there when I was a kid. Yeah.
Coffee County?
Way down the southern part of Georgia. Yeah.
Okay.
We had some
So, on the Florida border?
in there somewhere. Yeah.
Yep, yeah.
That's where,
Okay.
yeah, that's much of my mom's family came from.
Yeah.
I agree with the Southern hospitality. They are decent people.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I find people really all over the world are pretty decent.
Yeah.
Pretty easy to get along with. Be honest with you, the only place that I didn't care to go again is Spain. I don't think I'll go back to Spain. They are not warm people. That's the experience that I had. They're not warm, friendly people,
I don't remember it much. The one place that I still want to visit is different places in the Middle East, because I'm told that the hospitality there is kind of like Savannah, Georgia. It's like you may think it is hostile because of the different religions and that, but it sounds like they are just as welcoming.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll go on with travel just a little bit more, but that's a kind of a conundrum because my wife wants to. We've seen Europe, my wife and I, and she we've been together for 20 years, and I want to go. I want to go see more of Asia. And she, for many
Right.
years, I grew up in Asia. I don't want to see more of Asia. So, okay, honey, we did the Europe thing, and then we've done the United States thing, and a little bit into Canada, just a bit, and so now I'm hoping. I want to see the temples in Laos and Cambodia.
Oh yeah, nice.
They've been cleaning those places off and discovering more and more civilizations that are older than the pyramids of Giza, guys.
Yeah,
and they had mathematics and engineering.
crazy.
I was like, wow.
It's like a whole different subject if we get into like what is being discovered now that is older than we ever imagined.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
The mathematics
the
they
amount
had
of
to have,
knowledge that has been lost over centuries, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I want to see some of that, because I saw on YouTube, of course, they're discovering more and more of these ancient pyramids and structures and civilizations. They're everywhere, and these cities are bigger than London and Tokyo, and the structures are still there. And one thing
we think we have advanced civilizations now.
We're just starting over again. That's all. Yeah.
Bingo. Exactly.
But I saw one thing I would like to see. I think it was in Cambodia, maybe in Laos, where tropical rains. They dealt with the civil engineers that they had. They dealt with that tropical rain very well. They had it all cisterned in, and they had a nice even flow of water. The most amazing but simple thing I saw over there was to enter into where the royals lived. You had to go across the bridge from a slow flowing canal into about a half an inch of water, so you could wash your feet off before you go into where the people, the wealthy lived. And that water hasn't changed. The speed of the water and the flow of that water,
it's been like that for
thousands of years.
Yeah,
thousands
and it's
of
probably
years.
like smooth rock bottom. So
it's a bridge built about an inch underwater, and then most of the water flows underneath it, but it's just enough to wash the bottom of your shoes off before you go into the affluential area. It was like, that's freaking crazy. This shit is like 3,000 years old, man. I want to see that.
when you're able to look at stuff like that and go like the technology, the knowledge, what they were able to accomplish before, we have our modern ways of doing stuff. It's phenomenal.
And it was all done by handwork too. They didn't have giant excavators and bulldozers. They did all this stuff by hand.
All environmentally friendly too.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And with that water flowing gently and slowly, it stops the mosquitoes from building up in the water.
Yeah.
It's like, see, that's why I want to go to Asia and see that. But now that we've seen Europe, okay, hon, you done? All right, you good? Let's go to Asia.
Way off the original topic.
Yeah, it is.
But some of that stuff, like when you talk about that kind of thing, there are a whole bunch of projects where I've seen a few in Europe and that where they are rebuilding streams, rebuilding waterways, that sort of thing, where people were like, there should not be trees and vegetations falling down in streams and that. Well, actually there should. That is the way kind of what happened. So I forget what it was. They were doing a whole new project where they were actually dropping trees, dropping vegetation, and staking it into the water courses. Because what would happen then is it would slow the water down, it would help prevent erosion, and then it would build habitat for more and more animals insects,
Yep.
fish, that
Mhm.
sort of thing. So it's just this incredible thing that, you know, when we think about from our perspective, it's a messy river or a messy stream. No, that's kind of nature's own way of making sure there's more habitat, more ecosystems, more, you know,
Yeah.
more variety.
Mm-hmm. There's to touch on that topic is locally there's a river here that the American Indians own the river. They have the casinos, they have their own nation, they're very wealthy, and they're buying thousands of acres of forest land, and it's theirs, and they're leaving it alone. That all that water flows into this one river, so they bought the rights to that river and the streams that flow into it. Working with the state and environmental protection agencies, they put the streams that were carved out by the pioneers to be straight, fast-flowing streams to clear for farmland. They fell trees across it, just like you were mentioning. Brother, you should see the salmon runs now, because all those tributary streams are full of deadfall trees, habitat for the fish to lay their eggs in, and hide, the little fingerlings to hide from the predators.
Yeah,
see our salmon now, man. The rivers
if there's
are
no
full
cover
of
in the
fish.
streams,
Mm-hmm.
then you know.
Yeah, I know it's off topic, but I mean, just sometimes it's better if guys just don't F with it, leave it alone.
Yes. I think over the course of how many generations we've screwed stuff up so much to kind of meet our expectations, our visual aesthetics, and wanting to make things nicer or better in our eyes, and it makes it worse.
Yeah. Yep.
And that gets me going on the modern stuff, where it's like, to me, we continue to search out new technology, new things that will improve our life or make our life better or make it more environmentally sound. And to me, it's like, no, actually, we need to go back in time and look at different ways they used to do things. Like, there's that freaking mime, whatever they call it, meme, you know, where it's like, oh, such and such company just developed a solar panel ship that has wind sails. This is such a great development. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
sailing ships.
Are you kidding me? Come on. Like,
I know. I hear.
Are people that dense on history that they've never heard of sails on ships?
Some
before?
are. You know, some are.
And that's the problem. Is that to me is so. It boggles my mind that. What's that saying about those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it?
That's a fact. Yeah.
So can we not look back and say, hey, you know, why don't we have ships that now transport goods that I would do that if I was actually government. If you elected me to the Canadian government, that's what I would do right now. I'd be like, okay, any ships coming into Canada have to be sailed. They can't be, you know, they can't be dumping their waste in Canada. They can't be discharging, you know, the ballast inside Canadian waters. They've got to be sail ships. So you want stuff that's environmentally friendly? Here's what we're going to do. Everything transported to Canada now has to come through sail. It's like, all right.
You know,
I don't give a crap if it's going to affect the bottom line on stuff. Like they talk about, the St. Lawrence River, and there's still, I want to say diesel, but it's not diesel. It's like, fossil fuel powered cargo ships coming down our St. Lawrence River that are having collisions with whales and stuff. Like, really? Are you kidding me? So it's one of those things, like, you want to be green, don't tax us to be green, actually make some real contributions that are going to be actual green.
What I do, all I can control in my life is this little square here. Okay.
I know that's the problem, eh?
Yeah, and vote. That's really all we can do is vote and control what's inside of our box. So very little goes to waste in my house. Very little. You can look at my channel. I post a lot of stuff that I do, like the junk mail that comes into my house. I cut the plastic out of it. That goes into the trash. I can't do anything with it yet. But the rest of it gets chopped up into paper chips, and I use it for fertilizer out in the grass. I throw it out there because the paper came from trees. The ink is made of rice or made of soy now, and the earthworms eat the paper, and the earthworms are the most valuable creature on this planet, in my opinion. Earthworms and bees. As earthworms consume the paper, and they aerate the soil, and they make the soil porous and will absorb water, and they fertilize everything. It's
location,
perfect.
situation dependent, because like here, if you say earthworms, it's a bad thing, because what happens is we have a natural kind of tundra pine forest. So if you introduce more and more earthworms, it ruins that ecosystem that is kind of natural to our area. So it's kind of funny because they've got this thing like, yeah, this is great. You need to garden more and do this for your soil and stuff. And then it's like, wait, no, you can't release your earthworms here because it actually destroys the native soil and destroys the tundra system, destroys the pine trees. So it's like, oh, wow. Okay, there is this kind of, there is this balance of stuff. Oh, that gets me into another topic. Have you seen, we're going way off topic here. Shadow, you need to like kind of stop us and say, hey, come on back. And like, let's talk about like documentation and that kind of stuff.
Well, why do you think I have put chill and chat in the beginning of the title?
Okay. So, I want to say his name's Forrest Gallant, and he's this guy. If you haven't looked up Forrest Gallant, I'm pretty sure that's his name, Forrest Gallant, on YouTube. He is like big into stuff that's extinct and animals and different stuff like that. And he was talking about this one thing kind of blew my mind. So he was talking about mammoths. Everybody knows like the woolly mammoth, right?
Yeah.
Big, freaking mastodon, and they had the tusks and the big feet and the hair. It's like our Highland cows, just like, blown up. So anyway, what he was saying is there is a company, it's a private company that is bringing back multiple animals like this, passenger pigeon, the woolly mammoth, the dodo bird, and that kind of stuff. So they are bringing them back based on DNA. And he said, we do need to introduce these animals back into the ecosystem. Another one was being, what was it? It was like one of those dogs down in, I want to say it's Madagascar, New Zealand, something like that. It's not that, but it's
the Tasmanian tiger? Is that the one?
It's something like that. It's one of those top predators that went extinct down in that area.
Uh-huh.
And so he's giving all these reasons, and it's pretty wild. So if we go back to like the mastodon, the woolly mammoth, it was like, so here's the reason they're bringing it back is the mastodon woolly mammoth kind of was the Arctic animal. So it walked around in the Arctic.
Yeah.
It didn't have really many predators, right? Maybe the polar bear, that kind of thing. But really what it did is it walked around, it knocked down trees in the Arctic. But the big thing is because it was kind of like an elephant with its big padded feet,
Yeah.
it trampled the snow and pushed down the snow, forming it into ice. So what happened is the entire Arctic where the mastodon walked stayed ice. So what it prevented that area from thawing as fast as it does now. So it actually helped to keep the planet cooler by creating more ice.
I'll be darned. I never looked at it like that.
No,
I never thought of that at all.
It's crazy to think about that. And then when it talked about, it's not the Tasmanian tiger, but it's something like that, like you mentioned, down in
Tasmanian devil?
No, it's something else. It's kind of like a cross between a dog and I'm trying to think of the other thing, but it was like in New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, that sort of thing. So that top tier predator ate all of the little animals, right? Yeah. So what happened is that animal was hunted to extinction because in Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, that sort of thing, they wanted to have more sheep farms. So they hunted that to extinction. Right. Now what has happened is you have all those marsupials that are down there who are now overpopulated. They're getting disease, they're starving to death, that sort of thing, because there's too many of them. Yeah. Because they don't have an apex predator to control the balance of that system and control the kind of ecosystem that's going on there. So it's like, oh man, it's kind of cool to listen to him talk. Again, if you want to look it up, it's Forrest Gallant, I think his name is. And he talks about bringing all these animals back and the benefits that they would provide to us. And it's kind of mind-blowing. It's like, especially when he talks about like the mastodon, the mammoth, and like packing down the snow so it turns to ice and doesn't melt as fast and keeps the earth cooler. It's like, whoa.
Oh, I just subscribed to that channel. Thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah, man. It's like,
I'm always trying to learn something new, you know.
Oh man, the more we can learn and the more we can open our brains and the more like switched on we can become, it's like crazy. I'll be back in 1 sec.
Okay, I'm gonna get another. I'll get another coffee here too. There's Shadow. Just a moment.
Excuse me. No problem. Coffee is needed. And Bob without coffee, that is not a good combination. Forest, oh yeah. I think that is this. I take that one. Copy. I'm gonna do like this. Well, Bob and Thor will be back soon. And I hope Bob get his coffee hot enough. But I consider it's interesting. I'm gonna check with Thor if that is the correct channel. Thor, I put in the private chat the link if that is the Forest Gallant. If that is the dude.
Yes. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
him.
Okay.
So my one thing for anybody watching and looking at that, Forrest has said some stuff that myself being a hunter may have gone like, oh no, he's like one of those environmentalists, one of those like you can't hunt. Actually, he is kind of pro hunting, even though a lot of his comments are this animal was put extinct. For example, the passenger pigeons that he talks about. The passenger pigeons were they went extinct because of hunters. So he does say that, where in other things he's like, it's not the hunting that caused it, it's other stuff. And he does support hunters because he knows they are part of what we would call the ecosystem, that sort of thing. So me being a hunter, I do appreciate what Forrest says. I do like him. And I kind of support what he says and kind of take a lot from what he has mentioned and what he said. There's a ton of knowledge there that I think we can all learn from.
Yeah, I'm gonna check his channel out later. So
yeah, I already subscribed to him.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that, I want to learn a little something new.
Yeah, and
But,
it's kind of cool because he talks about stuff from everywhere. So like like I said, he talks about the woolly mammoth being brought back from extinction, passenger pigeons, the dodo, all that kind of stuff. But then he also talks about, there's say animals that have been found in Asia, where he's like, this animal was just found. Is it really that animal or something else? And it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think for me, and I'll go back to what I can control is inside of my own home, my own little house lot. That's what I have control over. And very little goes to waste in my place. I just recently, I got to do everything one small step at a time.
Yep.
Like I recently got a 5-gallon bucket and drilled holes all over in it. And right now on the kitchen counter, we've got coffee grounds and a banana peel and yesterday's rice. Took that 5-gallon bucket, sunk it 9 inches into the soil so the earthworms can find it. And at the end of every day.
Hold on right there, Bob. You sunk it 5 inches into the soil?
9 inches into the soil. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's gonna happen right now.
Not for you guys. No.
No.
You're frozen. You're frozen up there. Well, we're not that cold. Yeah. But
Yeah.
little things like that we can control ourselves make a big difference.
I'm pretty sure Shadow's going like, hey, that looks like my walk to work.
Yeah. You still have snow.
Yeah.
We have some snow left, but now we have more like rain. So
yeah. It was like 2 weeks ago. I'll say it this way, so like the Americans and everyone else can, understand it. Last 2 weeks ago, we were 10 degrees above freezing. And then this week, we're now like 10 degrees below freezing with 2.5 feet of snow. It's like, you
so close.
With spring Mother Nature, and then you just like,
Yeah, we have the same when it comes to the temperatures. We have on plus, and then we were below. So and it goes up and down like this, and I don't like that.
No.
Yeah, we're at the same point. Last week we had 2 bright sunny days. It was 70 degrees, whatever that is in your guys' temperature. It's warm, t-shirt and shorts, right? 2 days, and now right back down to I ain't no way I'm going to go out in a short sleeve and a short pair of shorts right now.
I'm pretty sure Shadow and I would be like in short
you
sleeves.
Guys, you can always spot the Canadians.
It's always funny because we go down to SHOT Show in Vegas for January. So us Canadians are like, we're walking around in flip-flops and t-shirts and that. And you can see everyone who's native from Nevada. And they've got toques on and parkas. And they're all bundled up. And we're like, this is awesome. Why isn't the pool open?
I lived in Las Vegas. I was stationed there for 2 years in Las Vegas. And I remember by the time I left there, it was 60 degrees. That's warm. I was still free. I was freezing. And I could see the tourists coming from the north coming to Las Vegas. Wow, man, this is great. I can see the sun. But I was wearing my field jacket and the toque, and I was like, holy shit.
I gotta say though, when you get out in the desert, when when the sun goes down in Vegas,
man,
boom,
that temperature.
So for me in Las Vegas, I'll be like short sleeve shorts, flip flops, that kind of thing during the day, and then the sun goes down, and it's like, I need my parka.
Yep.
Who's starting the bonfire? Because this is getting a little chilly out here.
A little sucky, and it happens in 10 minutes. In 10 minutes,
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
As soon as that sun dips beyond the horizon, it's like game on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A good thing is though,
does the temperature drop in Las Vegas?
During the winter months, it'll drop 30, 40 degrees in the winter months. But in the summertime, it don't drop, baby. It don't make no damn difference.
For you and I would say like we're kind of in the same temperature. So like for me, if I go outside in flip-flops and shorts and that kind of stuff, there can be still snow on the ground. Like if it's above freezing, I'll go out in flip-flops and shorts, depending on if the sun is shining and not. So when I went down to Vegas, I'm like, I go out in flip-flops and shorts and short sleeves, and I am sweating during the day. Like literally like, oh man, seriously. And then the sun goes down and I'm like, someone get me a puffy jacket. I need to put my pants on. Where's my boots and wool socks and toque and mitts? It's like, man, the temperature difference and fluctuation in the desert
And the
is
desert is
extreme.
extreme. Yeah, it is. It is. That when I was in the military there, I was in the Air Force, so we're in buildings most of the time. But if we were outside working on the airplanes, you could always see the second shift guys coming to work on the airplanes. They're bringing their field jackets and gloves and hats. You know, because as soon as the sun went down in the winter months, bam, would drop
Bam.
right down.
Yeah.
There's nothing to hold the temperature, but the
No.
summer, oh baby, in the
You would think,
summertime
like,
though,
all that
oh,
amount of rock and sand would hold some sort of thermal mass. It
No.
doesn't.
hmm
It's like just
in the summertime, it would be over 110 degrees during the day. The highest I ever saw was 119 degrees during the day,
okay.
and then it would only cool off about 3 to 5 degrees at night. And that's
Jeez.
in the summer.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
In the summer, yeah.
Yeah.
In the wintertime, if you work night shift on the airplanes, better bring your field jacket and your gloves, because
Yeah.
as soon as that sun goes down, it's off. The switch is off, you know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's like, for me to be putting on a parka and stuff like that, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Because like normally this kind of stuff right now, like I can go out and walk barefoot in that, no problem, because the temperature is such that I'm not really that cold. But in Nevada, in the desert,
Mm-hmm.
it's like there doesn't need to be snow on the ground. It's like the temperature drops and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, the thermometer, you can see it just.
In 10
And
minutes.
you're like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, you see the mercury drops.
yeah.
Mhm, it does. As soon as the sun is gone, bam.
It goes from
right
like
down.
Celsius to Fahrenheit.
Mhm. Boom. Yeah, it does. I've got a good excuse to go back there though, because God willing, my niece, the nurse, the RN over in the Philippines, God willing, she'll have her interview with the U.S. Embassy soon, and she's got a job waiting for her as a registered nurse in Las Vegas.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's from Seattle. That's a 2-hour and 10-minute flight, and I could see Uncle Bob going to Las Vegas here and there. Go visit with Cristal. My wife and I are definitely going to go fly down there and visit with her.
Nice.
I'm an old coot. I lived in Las Vegas for a couple of years, so I know it's no big deal to me. But I made a deal with my niece. I said, I'll tell you what, honey, you and your auntie can go out and take all your pictures and go do the nightlife in Las Vegas. Park me on freaky Fremont Street with a cold glass of beer, so I can look at all the freaky chicks in their yoga pants, and I'm happy.
And I haven't been to Fremont in a while. I just
Yeah, your
I get
missus
cold.
stand behind you
It
with her
hurts.
flip flop and
Oh man, I praise God for the invention of yoga pants. Oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you. They're naked, but they have clothes on.
That wasn't God. That was Loki who brought the yoga pants.
Loki.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've had wife and I have been to Las Vegas, and she would go hang out in the hotel and read and rest. I'd be out there on Fremont
God
Street
says you
day and
can't
night
look
with
at that kind of thing.
cold glass of beer, looking at all the yoga pants going by, talking to the other tourists and stuff. Good times to me. Yeah.
Yeah. God says you can't look at that.
I'm not supposed to?
No, apparently
I'm not supposed to?
You're human, but you're not supposed to, right?
I'm a man. I am a guy. I like girls. I like
whereas
girls.
my gods are like, hey, let's celebrate that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, life's good.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's Bob in a nutshell.
Mhm. I like the ladies. I can't help it. I like the ladies.
Oh,
You know,
who doesn't?
I
Wow.
don't know.
Nowadays, that's kind of like a loaded question, isn't it? Like we won't
Yeah.
even go there. All right, so
Yeah.
back to the documentation.
Documentation. Yeah, but that passport, that's solid
Yeah.
gold, man. You know, that is solid gold. You've got to keep that. Guard that.
You have your papers?
We've got boxes. We've got a fireproof safe and all that, and you know that's if we get burned out of here during the next election, which is a possibility. Those just pick them up, throw them in the car. Food, water, ways to protect ourselves, ways to conceal ourselves, get in and go. Convoy the whole family, go up to that family's house. If we can't reach these different families, then we're at the airport, dude. We're gone. You know. That's why the kids, we made sure that they keep their passports up also. My wife and our 2 kids are dual citizen. They can we made sure that they've got their updated passports and all that, because in the last few years, once you turn 18, you have to get a new passport. You know,
Okay.
and so
Yeah.
my son did it himself without even any provocation. He went and got his passport updated, and he's also took it upon himself to have dual citizenship. But we had to take our daughter with us. My son got his dual citizenship when the Philippine consulate was in Seattle. He drove up there without any provocation. He just did it, and my wife and daughter had to fly down to San Francisco and then get their their Philippine passports renewed. You have to keep a U.S. passport and a Philippine passport if you have dual citizenship. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Idaho. You know, being here in the Seattle area, that might be something we might have to do coming the next election. Got to go now. You know.
It was funny. I was kind of zoning out there because we were talking about, papers and passports and that kind of stuff. And I was like, wait, there's a joke about that. And it was like the Germans, and it's like, knock, knock. Who's there? We will ask the questions.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, that's all we can control in our lives is what's inside of our little box here. That for me, that's all I can do. Make sure our paperwork's squared away. Make sure we've got food and water put away in the house in case we can't get out.
Yeah.
That's happened here before. They block the highways and the small roadways out into the country. The first warning you're going to get if you're going to have something happen in your area is your power is cut off. They did that here. We've lived through it. Our power was cut off for 3 days because they have chainsaws and they cut down the power poles.
Oh.
And yeah.
Oh.
They did that, guys. They did that. And sometimes they drop.
I just did a video about us going, like, we went through Sunday with 12 hours without power. And normally for us in this area, we're like half an hour without power, because of our situation. And then it was 12 hours without power. So it was like some stuff I learned from that 12 hours. And it was like, always keep wood on hand because
I got some more wood today. Yep.
We realized that we're getting low on wood because we're thinking it's spring, but hey, if the power goes out, oh shit, we need
that's all you've got. Sorry. Yeah.
We need a little more.
You know what I did during the power outages is I have a notebook sitting right next to me. I don't rely on my phone for everything. I take down notes during the power failures. And But let me give you kind of an in sequence rundown, because no one is immune from this political violence. No one is. I don't care where you live. First thing
Bob,
they'll do
we're
is
kind of in the same page. Like I would say,
yeah,
I have my notes right here too. It was like firewood. We didn't have enough.
bingo. I just got another bundle of it.
We
today.
realized that, we kind of had enough to get us through, but if the power's out, then we need more.
Yeah.
Drinking water. We have enough water to sustain us for, flushing toilets and that kind of stuff. But if we start using more for coffee, making juice, regular drinking, making tea, we might not have enough to get us through a few days. Lamp oil. We had enough, but we could always use more. The freezer. Consolidation. So we have 3 freezers, like 3 big freezers, not including the 2 on the fridges. So consolidation means those freezers we pull kind of from each freezer, whereas what we should do is pull from one freezer and continue to restock that freezer. So that, say, instead of having 3 freezers that are half empty, we should have one freezer that is full and
Good
one
thinking.
freezer that's half empty, and then the other freezer we can pull the plug on.
Yep.
The generator. The generator, again, we realized that we can hook up the generator and run it for the freezers in the garage.
Yeah.
Or we can run it for the stuff in the house. But trying to run it for both is a lot of extension cords and power plugs and that kind of stuff. So it's like that not only comes down to consolidation, but also getting a generator hookup into the house so we can shut the main off and then just run the generator from the fuse box. And then camping supplies. We have camping stoves. We have other stuff that, we can easily do tea. We can do coffee. We can do that sort of stuff. So having that stuff more accessible, whereas that stuff was kind of stocked away in the garage in storage, having that more accessible and organized.
Yes, that's organization and ease of access of your prepared materials is vital, especially foot traffic.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Because if you take a fall and you get hurt and you sprain your wrist or break a knee, now you're really in trouble.
Slip on the ice, which always happens.
And I put I've got these little lanterns. I get them at secondhand stores, and I've got one out here in the garage. And these are so freaking handy. Put them on your stairwell, wherever you're walking up and down stairs. These things will save you from falling and breaking a wrist or getting injured. Just a simple tea light. There you go. Yep.
So for us, what we realized is, this has about half full. So when the power went out, we kind of topped the other one up, and it was like, oh, that kind of took a lot away from the jug of oil that we had, and realized okay, so we topped them up. We lost about half a jug of oil. Well, now we're down to half a jug. It's like, if we're not always topped up, we should have more and more on hand.
Put that on your notes. I'll bring you something. I'll show you something real quick. You know how famous I am, Shadow. I'll show you.
Yeah, I know.
I'll show you. Yeah. This is what I bought today. Yep.
That one was cool.
What's that?
That one, the skull. That one, yeah.
So that one,
What's inside that? Coins?
I try to take the cork off, but it'll take me a bit to get the cork off. But thankfully, I have a lot more of this where it needs to be. But it's like,
oh, you have a lot of little friends that run faster than you do.
yeah. So that one's kind of just display where I have other stuff that I can access easily.
Yeah. That will be interesting to see what Bob got.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see.
You always have interesting things to show us.
I know. I'm thinking, Bob, can I pull out something more interesting than you or not? What you got, Bob?
Okay, I've got all my emergency gear for lighting and all that is in the center of the house in one shelf. Okay. Each time I go to the store, I just buy this. This was like what, $7 of kiln dried firewood. I bought that today.
Whoa!
Okay.
What?
Oh.
No, hold that up again.
What? Kiln dried firewood. It is dry as a bone. Almost every time I go to the
Now
market.
it's $7.
Yeah, I know it's expensive, but if you buy it one at a time and stack it up, it builds up. It doesn't take long.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's expensive, but it's kiln dried.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how much. So for us, we actually have a place right down the street from us that does charcoal. They manufacture most of the charcoal for Quebec, but that's where we buy our firewood from, and it's kiln dried.
Yeah,
already cut up.
Yep.
And it makes such a huge difference because we don't have to go out and cut it down and chop it and put it through the wood splitter and stack it and let it dry. It's like, I'm too old for that. I just need
plus, if the power's out and you're already struggling with this and that, you don't need frustration of trying to start a cooking fire with green wood. Get the kiln. Yeah. But here's another thing that I bought. This was like $3, another 50 pack of tea lights.
Okay.
I made a mistake. Don't make the same mistake I did. I bought several hundred tea lights without testing them, and they went in the garbage. Because I'll give you a tip. These tea lights that have the 4 little bumps on the bottom. Buy those. Those are the ones you want. The ones with the concentric rings are freaking garbage. They're garbage. They don't work. But these ones I think are made in India. It was like $3 or $4 for 50 more. And I just put them on the shelf in the middle of the house. Right in the middle of the house is where I keep all this kind of stuff.
We have candles all over
front and center. There's no tripping hazards around anything. It's right in the middle of the house, the center.
And for us, we can go I want to say we can go 5 feet, 15 feet without, bumping into a flashlight or something so. Right away, I can grab that right there. And it's
mine's right there. There you go.
Yeah. So for me, it's like there's always something for us for lighting within a few feet.
Yeah, the same with us. Yeah. Well, first floor and second floor, we've got stuff on both floors. Those things, I'll show you another thing real quick here, but I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem.
Trying to think what else I got here.
Yeah.
So the other thing I got, my helmet. So this is my bump helmet. And again, I've got a Surefire light here. It does white light, red light, IV light. So, or sorry, IR light, infrared. So that's within grabbing distance. My arc with it is in grabbing distance. Trying to think what else I got here. My big trunk.
Yeah.
My big trunk here has like all my kind of extra survival gear in it. So there's so much stuff in that that's like, you know.
These are, I swear by these things, guys. I swear by them.
What's
You
that?
can get them. It's a recharger. It's a rechargeable light. You can get them for $40-$50. Put it on your list right now. You can get them on Amazon. I got this tip from someone in Britain, but as soon as the power goes out, a light comes on automatically.
Okay.
And you can set it up to where this is a motion sensor, to where the light will come on, whether power's on or off.
So
by motion.
You would plug it in to like a normal outlet, right?
Right. We have them on the first floor and the second floor, and it just sits there and it charges. And okay, it's got 2 USB ports built into it, so you can recharge like my flashlight. I can plug my flashlight in there and recharge it anytime. So what I've got it sitting on right now is I recently bought this. It's just an AM FM radio with weather.
Nice.
Because I bought this and when like
that's
Facebook,
one thing we need to pick up is like one of those kind of radios.
I swear by these guys, because as soon as the power fails, that light comes right on immediately, and it avoids a tripping hazard, so you don't get hurt. You know.
Nice.
And I've got this also, and some walkie-talkies when the AT&T was shut off, and when the day or so after that Facebook was turned off, that's when I went, okay, it's time for Bob to get his thumb out of his mouth and do something. So I keep this has got flashlight, all that stuff on it, and I keep it plugged into this at all times, so that when the power goes off, there's my emergency radio with another flashlight right next to it.
Nice.
Yeah. We've got these. First, we've got one of these on the first floor, and we've got one of them on the second floor.
That was our big thing when the power went out Sunday, and we were like 12 hours without power. It's like, the one thing we did lack was comms. We have comms to be able to talk to each other on the farm. So we do have radios where, if I'm a mile back, we have radios to do that sort of thing. We don't have anything to be able to communicate with the outside world.
Right.
So that's our big thing, where it's like, oh yeah, there is something we are lacking.
Yeah. At the same time, I bought this AM FM and weather and all that. I bought a pair of walkie-talkies, and they're plugged in to the wall, just sitting there right now. But
nice.
This will recharge your phone while it's just anything is USB, anything.
Right.
I swear by these guys. They've come in handy so many times. And you can recharge your phone, recharge your flashlight. But I've got this set up in an area to where I can find this radio immediately, and it's within sight of like your chest you've got there with your gear. We've got our stuff set up on shelves in the middle of the house, so I can find my way just by this light coming on automatically. I can walk right over and get my tea lights and start lighting the little lanterns and the little tea lights around the house. Okay, when the radicals burned this area, and the land is still scarred here. It's still scarred. These people are serious. I was at home with my teenage daughter, and my wife and my son were at work the full time. They're medical workers. They have to get to work. I was there with my teenage daughter, and I have my shit together basically as much as I can. I was in the middle of the house at the dining room table, tying together wax fire starters, keeping busy. She was nervous. She was, because she's a teenager and the power's out. She's not used to that. So she came down about 40 times to get a drink of water because I was at the dinner table. She's checking to make sure that she's not alone. She'd come down and get a drink of water, and I just look at her with the Coleman lantern hanging from a hook and go, "You're okay, honey. Everything's fine. You're good. You're solid. You want me to turn on the camp stove? You can cook." I know she's nervous when she doesn't talk. She just shakes her head. Yeah, all right, I'll go get the stove set up for you. You can make some soup, or, being strong and being calm and being prepared really, really helps, man. It really does.
When you're ready for stuff, and someone says, "Hey, my God, the power just went out. We got a situation." You're like, "Hey, wait a minute. Here's light. Here's energy, here's heat, here's, you
a way to cook.
Want to cook breakfast? No problem. We got this set up. We're good to go. It really calms everyone else down.
It does. It really does. Yeah. It may take you a little longer to get things done, but when your family sees that you've got your shit together.
Yep. Exactly.
We're all three prior military, and we all got stuff together to where stay calm. It'll take a little longer. Just chill. We're all right. I had a Coleman lantern going on a hook inside the living room, and I was tying up wax fire starters with a notebook next to me.
Your toast is going to take 6 minutes instead of 4 minutes.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. You're cool. You're cool. Yep. It's all good.
Yep.
Once in a while, we were off for 3 days because they cut the power by sawing down power poles with chainsaws.
Man.
Yeah. And we were off for 3 days. So when my daughter wanted to recharge her cell phone so she could still talk to her buddies, I'd take a chair and I'd set it in front of the car, turn the car on, let it run while she'd charge up her phone on the car. But here's one more thing that's not my own personal experience. I met a guy in a local coffee shop. His area, they had to be evacuated because of the fires that the radicals were starting around this area. He was evacuated. He was without power for 5 days. And when the fire department came around, because even his area, the cell phone towers were turned off. Everything was shut off. The fire department had to come around with loudspeakers and say, evacuate. And keep this in mind. There were 3 ways to get to his place, 3 different directions. When they were evacuated, that was narrowed down to 1 road that they could clearly get off and go to safety. It took him, normally by that 1 road, it took him like 10 minutes. It took him over 45 minutes to make the same trip during an evacuation. So keep that in mind, guys. Keep that. This came from a guy that I talk to once in a while in a coffee shop. And I find it's unsettling to me to an extent that there's a lot of people who live through all of this in this area who don't want to talk about it. They don't want to remember it. I want to remember it, and I want to take down notes every time some of these things happen so I can improve my situation for me and mine.
Yeah. Where does this apply to me? What can I take from this? Is there situations that I can learn from? All that kind of stuff.
Like you just mentioned, I need more stove or more lamp oil. Yeah, more firewood.
And it may not be a situation where I'm out or I'm like, for us, it was like, hey, that took more than I thought it would. Yeah. So I need to stock up more eventually in the future to last longer. So it's not one of those like, oh my God, I need to go do this now. It's okay. Like over time, I'm going to stock up a little bit more.
Yeah. And when when everyone else is rushing to the store to get batteries for their flashlights, you're at home like, hey,
I'm good for batteries.
yeah, you know what I mean? You're at home when you're ready. Hey, soup's ready. You hungry?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't let them rush around and go do the foolish
Except
stuff.
2032. That reminds
Yeah.
me, I need to order more 2032 batteries.
Mm-hmm. What are 2032s? I've never heard of those before.
They're the disc ones.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like if you've got aim points or
okay.
that kind of sights.
I got it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, put that on your list.
Even Sunto watches, those ones take the 2032.
Okay.
So they're always good to have on hand.
You know what I do too, guys, while I'm talking to you guys and when I'm talking to my gardening friends, I have my Amazon account open right up here. No, I do. I reach up there, click. Okay, that's on my wish list. Click. That's on order. You know, just right now, act on it. Acting on what you need.
Right.
Get it in the house. Easy to access. When it all goes sideways, you know, you'll be like I was when the radicals were lighting fires. I was like, well, I just go outside once in a while and look and see. I wasn't too concerned until the fires got close. Then it was like, you know,
okay.
I recall I had my daughter drive me over there, and I was looking at the hillside that was on fire, and I looked at my daughter and I said, what do you think? I let her have her input. I said, what do you think? Should we get ready? She goes, let's just keep monitoring, Dad. Okay, we'll do that. And we went back there a couple more times to see but by the time we started getting concerned, they brought in a helicopter with a bucket and started putting the fire out right by our house. That saved our butts. But
nice.
Input from the family when stuff's going on is very important.
It is.
What are your thoughts?
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially in those situations, because it helps calm them down as well.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And let your family know that they're valuable to you,
right,
as part of the team. You know. Yeah. But that one fellow I talked in a coffee shop, his cell phone was down. So was the power, and they were out without power for 5 days because of the radicals right here in this area.
Wow.
So you can look at my channel and see why I take this stuff seriously. We've been through this, guys, and I'll say it again. These people who are doing this are international. They know what they're doing. They are extremely well educated. They're very fast at what they do. They're very organized. And don't take them lightly. They're not a bunch of sissies. These people will F you up. They will take you down. How many people did they kill in Portland and Seattle? How many? I don't know, but they killed a lot of people. They're nobody to F with, you know. So if you got to bail and get out to save your wife and family's life, do it. Get out. Get out. You know, don't be afraid to run away from a group of organized people that are well armed, who are well trained. They have their own rifle ranges, guys. They practice. They're nothing to take lightly. You know, I'm not one of them, and I don't like what they do. But my counteraction is, you know, stand our ground at the house. We're going to stay here as long as we can, and if we have to get out, we're going to get out fast and quiet and be able to hide on the way out if we have to. This is all practical, lived experience. We've already been through this here in this area. Yeah. Well,
for us, we're not going anywhere. It's like, this is it. This is our okay corral. Like,
yeah, that's same with us. Same with us, Thor. The only way we're going to leave here is if we get burned out.
Yeah. So
I mean,
for us, again, we're way off the original topic, but like for me, it's like I want to bring family here. I want to bring trusted friends here. I want to bring, people who have skills and stuff.
Yeah,
And
you can trust. Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly. There's others who are like, oh, I'm going to do it on myself. No, you can't. You can't, because one, you have to sleep, you have to eat, you have to go to the bathroom, you have to look after your own hygiene. There's no way you can look after yourself or your property if it's just you. So sorry, it's not going to happen. You'll be overrun.
Yeah.
Very soon. So if I have people I trust, family and friends who I trust and who can help out, the more the better. And then, they can look after the gardens, they can look after the animals, we can take turns sleeping, we can take turns eating, we can take turns looking after hygiene.
Yeah. So we've moved into this house there, Thor, less than 2 years ago. How you can learn a great deal from your neighbors by having that 15-minute cup of coffee in their driveway conversation.
Oh, hell yeah.
I live in an area, it's suburbs, and I know some of the neighbors I can count on.
Yeah.
I already know who they are. And I recently learned one that I know that I can't count on. I cannot.
Well, when you do everything for one neighbor and that neighbor can't do anything for you?
Don't bring it here, dude. Well, it was an interesting the way this happened. I'll try to keep it brief. Is the couple across the street from us, she's American Indian, he's white. And we were talking in a coffee cup conversation in the driveway about the number of immigrants coming across the border. It's into the millions now. And she was concerned about it. She brought up the topic. So we spoke about it for a few minutes, and I said, do you have a YouTube account? She says, I know what it is. And I said, I'll bring you some videos I want you to watch with some information. And I wasn't able to get back to her until like the next day. So I wrote it on a note, and I was going to put it on her screen door. On my way over is when I found the neighbor that I know I can't count on. I can't count on him. The way it worked was I had the note, and I walked past him. I said, hey, good morning. And we started talking about some of the addicted people riding their bicycles around the area looking to break in. And they chose the house that had no security, and they tried to get into his house because he has no security. They're that observant, guys. They know what they're doing. But at that time I talked with this fella, I found out I cannot count on him for anything because he said, I didn't expect the addicted to find our area, and oh my God, I've got kids, and he's a teacher. Okay. When he was in his 20s, he was in a university getting indoctrinated into Marxism. I was in the US military. Big difference between us. Reality and fantasy. And he's still in fantasy. Okay. So I said, I have some information for our neighbor across the street about immigration. He went off. Oh my God, don't bring up immigration around here. My wife's grandmother came from Cuba. So, well, if you haven't noticed,
she's probably even more aware than he is.
And I said, if you haven't noticed that my wife and kids are from the Philippines, I know about immigration. Right? But then he mentioned, I let people like that talk so I can learn what they are and what's in their head. He go, oh my God, now the drug addicts have found us. They're scoping us out. I might have to get a gun. And I said, and he goes, the neighbors over here said that if anything happens, they can seek shelter in our house because I know they're armed. I've already. That's one of the neighbors I can count on. But as soon as he went on about his Marxism bullshit, and I might have to get a gun, I did not extend the same invitation to him. Dude, if you're a freaking grown ass man with 2 little kids and you haven't got a way of protecting your wife and children, you're a pussy. I don't
Like I
want
said,
you in my house.
friends and family I can trust and I can
Yeah.
count on, who have already been there with me through stuff.
Yep. Yeah. My wife lived through Civil War already. I've been through martial law 5 times. My wife, her policy is no one comes in this house. No one. Because she lived through it. She said the only people who can enter the house are blood relatives. Nobody else. You know, she lived through it. People will fucking kill you over a can of Spam, dude. And she's seen shit like that, you know. When there was no relief food, there was nothing. They were starving, you know. And so
Look at Haiti right now.
Huh? Oh, yeah, that's kind of what she grew up in, dude. Like
Yeah.
that. You know, not cannibalism, but you know, but this neighbor that's over here, you and I are not on the same page. You're on your own, Bubby. if something happens to you, you better run to that other neighbor because I ain't letting you in. You know, if you're such a pussy and you can't even pick up a baseball bat to protect your wife and children, I got no room for you in my house, buddy. None. Yeah, but that's where I'm sorting out my neighbors still because we moved in here less than 2 years ago. You know. All right. I think I've talked enough. Sorry if I'm boring you guys half to death, but
no, it's all good. I was looking at my drink and it was empty. So I'm like, I might have to run up and do a little refill here.
Yeah, Shawnee, we put that on your Amazon list right now while we're talking, or put it on your to-do list, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shadow's like, I was having a great day and this is great conversation, but now I am done.
He's tired.
Yeah. He is tired.
He is. Yeah, I'm tired.
Yeah. All right, guys. But yeah, get ready for election. Make sure you have food and water in your house in case the highways are blocked off. Yeah, at least that much. So,
Shadow, you want to call it a night?
Yeah.
Say it again.
Do you want to call it? Do you want to say that's it? That's it? That's all?
Wrap things up.
All right. Later, time for some more coffee. Mm-hmm. And
I think I'm gonna wrap things up.
And I'm gonna plan on looking at yoga pants in Las Vegas. That's what I'm gonna do for the rest of the day.
Are you? Oh man.
Peace out, you guys. Thanks again, Shadow.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon, Bob.
You're welcome.
Always great chatting with you.
Thank you, guys.
Shadow, always good talking with you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Thor. Yeah, we do. Take care. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. And God bless, guys. And I will see you next Saturday. So I appreciate that you stopping by today. So have a good day, good night, sweet dreams, and stay vigilant. God bless. And I'm out.